San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego, and happy Wednesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. I'm Braden Surprenant. He's Frank Marchese. We are the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We got a lot to talk about on today's show, just like we had yesterday. Probably because we didn't get to a lot of the things we wanted to talk about yesterday. And you want to start with, well, a couple of things. A couple of news items to get to. We'll start with college basketball. We'll take a deeper dive into Aztec basketball and USD basketball from last night. All three of our teams got a dub this week. Started with UCSD a couple of days ago. And then the Aztecs and the Toreros last night doing a great job getting a W. San Diego State had two of the three players that are expected to be like players of the year in the Mountain West Conference didn't even participate last night. No Bagun Guath, which was expected. He's not back until I think the game against Troy on November 18th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of the timeline you expect to see Magoon Guath back as he recovers from an injury over the offseason. And then you didn't have Dixon Waters last night either. Don't know where he was at. Mark Ziegler was asking a lot of questions about it. Said he was potentially out with an illness, and then all of a sudden you saw a report from Mark Ziegler on Twitter that he could have scratched his eye in between practice and the game. But it was some interesting reporting last night. Anyway, he wasn't there. And the Aztecs still, with all of that and getting into foul trouble last night, still cruised to a massive victory over Long Beach State. But you know what? It was expected. That was an expected result. It's one of the games that they have early on in the season that they should be able to win. This Aztecs team's pretty good. This is what Mark Ziegler tweeted last night about Reese Dixon Waters, okay? I'm told that Reese Dixon Waters somehow, quote, scratched his eye between the end of practice yesterday and the start of tonight's game, although no one with San Diego State is providing details or confirming if he is in the building. Very weird. And it says Dixon Waters has a corneal abrasion, although how he did that remains unclear. He is not believed to be at the game. Don't know what to really break down with that. We'll probably get more updates from Mark Ziegler about what the health status of Reese Dixon Waters is. But a guy that missed all of last year due to injury, coming back, expected to be one of the leading scorers for San Diego State, did not play last night. Magoon Guath did not play last night. Yet, Aztecs basketball still cruised to a victory. That's what good teams do. This team is going to be relentless. In fact, our boy, John Rothstein, actually coined a phrase for Aztec basketball. This is a long time coming. Anybody know who John Rothstein is? Frank, you know who John Rothstein is, right?
Yes.
He's the guy that's crazy about college basketball. He's the guy that won't talk to his family for the next 5 months because college basketball is on. He has his great tweets. Some people take vacation. I watch college basketball. I mean, there's so many of those. Here's what he has. I mean, he puts this stuff out all the time. I mean, if you like college basketball and you don't follow John Rothstein on Twitter, you got to do it. You know, he's boys with Adam. Adam knows him. Getting him on the show would be almost impossible. We got his number. We've tried before. I'd love to be able to try to get him on the show again, or for the first time. But these are the things he tweets. Middle Tennessee / Milligan, standalone game. This is a great game to watch basketball. Here's some other things he has. I got to go find some of his quirky tweets that he puts out. Trying to find some of them that he has. Some people have hobbies, period. I watch college basketball, period. That's just kind of crazy. He puts all these quotes out there, and then he puts like head coaches' names next to them. Tweeted out 12 hours ago. College basketball is greater than being social. Grab your nitroglycerin pills.
That is accurate.
This is only November. Oregon, Hawaii, standalone game. I'm trying to find the Aztec one. He's even selling a shirt now. San Diego State basketball, period. Ruthless aggression, period.
Right, that's ripped from WWE, but whatever.
He stole it.
We'll let that slide.
You're making T-shirts now. It says San Diego State basketball, ruthless aggression, and then it says John Rothstein's name underneath it. He calls like Nate Oates my cousin Vinny. They had another one with Bobby Bleepin' Hurley is a very common one. John Shire, Succession. I mean, he put them all on. He's got them all on T-shirts now too. Ben McCollum, The Natural, Miracle Mac, Death, Taxes, Matt Painter, Mark Pope, Keeping the Faith, I Love Standalone Games. How about this one? This is the best one. Now, here's the one where I just want to call it John Rothstein. He had this one for a long time. You ready for this one? West Virginia. Talk about, obviously, the Mountaineers basketball program. Tougher than a long weekend at your in-laws. That's a great... But he said that was for Bob Huggins' press defense, and then he went on to say that he doesn't... With him being gone, he doesn't use it anymore, and then he just used it again last night. West Virginia basketball. Tougher than a long weekend at your in-laws. So anyway, as I digress on the whole John Rothstein thing, he actually coined a phrase for San Diego State. It's great. San Diego State basketball, ruthless aggression. That's exactly what that was last night. Ruthless aggression. Despite not having Magungwa, despite not having Dixon Waters, Aztecs basketball still cruised to a victory, which you expect them to do as the team that they are going into the season. San Diego State basketball is legit. The fact that San Diego State basketball did not start the season ranked is an absolute travesty, by the way. Absolute travesty by people that don't obviously watch college basketball.
We do have breaking official news from the Padres. Victor Rodriguez is now officially leaving to become the Astros hitting coach. That was a rumor put out yesterday, but it has been made official now.
Oh, I was going to get to that. Kevin Acey had that at 9 this morning, that Victor Rodriguez is finalizing a deal. So the Padres officially put that out?
Yeah, well, it's from the video. Well, it's from the Padre report, but the newsletter.
All right. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's some takes on that. Let's go back to Aztec basketball for a second. Just looking at what the Aztecs were able to do last night, looking at the box score. And good on KUSI for being able to air these games that Fox and ESPN didn't want. But you got to see your first starting lineup. Miles Heide, Jeremiah Odin, Sean Newman Jr. got to start at point. Miles Bird, Taj DeGorville. Those were the starting five last night for San Diego State. 13 points for Bird, 10 for DeGorville. Miles Heide had 10. Off the bench, the freshman, LZ Harrington. That guy's the real deal. We talked about that last week. Not only do you have a good core group of players, but what shows San Diego State why they're going to be able to compete at a high level, I mean, they went out and put up 77 points, won 77-45 over Long Beach State without two of their best players. And the freshman contributed mightily off the bench in LZ Harrington. 13 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 4 for 8 from the field, 2 for 2 from the three-point range. San Diego State finished the night 11 for 23 from 3, shot 47%. They shot 43% from the field. They play stingy defense. They got a good basketball team. And they're going to continue to cruise throughout the season. And I can't wait to see them play in this Players Era tournament. They're going to play Idaho State in a couple of days. Idaho State's going to play USD on Friday. And then they got Troy. And San Diego State should be 3-0 as they head to Vegas for the Players Era Festival. They'll take on the 7th-ranked Michigan Wolverines. They'll play Oregon, and then they'll get paired with another game. But this is great. San Diego State basketball, good first win last night, showing what they have. Now, as for USD basketball last night, I was fortunate enough to call the game for USD with Jack Cronin on ESPN+. Toreros, good basketball win last night against Occidental, 88-59. Yes, Occidental had enough players, which is great. But Tenary Lane was the star of the show last night. Coming off the bench, had 15 points, was 5 for 8 from the three-point line. He led his conference last year, the Sun Belt, in three-point shooting. Played 3 years at Winthrop, then went to Georgia Southern. Had a great career, and is now going to continue that career with USD. They had the European guys out there playing well, but everybody contributed in terms of points. Everybody contributed in terms of rebounds for the guys that played the majority of the game. You got to see a lot better of a USD team than you were expecting, especially after the way that they played against San Diego State the week before. So a good first win for USD, a good first win for UCSD, and a great win for San Diego State to get their college basketball seasons started. A lot of these teams will be back in action this weekend. USD will be taking on Idaho State on Friday. And just to report back on that story, I talked about it yesterday with Bethesda's women's basketball team. I got to see it firsthand. Now it's all over social media, Frank.
Yes.
They had 5 players again. They played last night. They played 2 nights in a row. They played at USD, and then they went up to CSUN last night. They were down 72-0 at one point in the game. 72-0. At what point are we going to be like, this is a massive problem?
That three-pointer that girl hit for the first 3 points of the game, though, was clean.
She had 3 of those against USD. She just did it in the first half. They got shut out in the first half.
No rim, clean.
52-0 at halftime.
Oh, at halftime, jeez.
52-0 at halftime. They didn't score any points in the first half. I couldn't believe what I was watching when I saw it in person. I still can't believe what I was watching last night. And now it's like the Barstool guys have it, and it's all over social media. And they're like, what is going on with Bethesda women's basketball? There's an article on it in the New York Post today. I would like to say we were on this first, Frank.
Kind of were.
We were on this first.
You were on it live.
I was, yeah, exactly. I'm like, they have 5 girls. They only played with 4 against USD. They actually had full 5 against Cal State Northridge. That was a 103-13 final last night. Field goal percentage, 9% for Bethesda, 44% for CSUN. CSUN out-rebounded Bethesda 79-17. They had 21 total turnovers, Bethesda did, and the Matadors had 31 points off of those 21 turnovers. Bethesda, no points off turnovers, no fast break points, no points in the paint. They got outscored 52-0 in the points in the paint category. It's amazing. It like you said, it's like a car crash. You just cannot look away. At least they had 5 players last night. But that is just a crazy situation. And here's the deal. I didn't even realize this was a thing. Does anybody know? I had no idea who Julian Newman is. Do you know who Julian Newman is? Anybody in the YouTube chat watch YouTube besides us and knows who Julian Newman is? I didn't know who this was.
No.
I was like, never heard of him. So Julian Newman, his dad is the head coach at Bethesda. You would be like, who in the world, who the fudge is Julian Newman?
Yeah, that's cool.
Who is that? I don't know who that is. And I was like, it's got to be some YouTube guy. I've never heard of the guy. And one of my friends, Nikki P, goes, they are like the Ball family, but if they had no basketball talent. I'm like, what? He goes, it's an AAU dad who made a lot of hype around his kids to get them recruited, but they both weren't very good.
Incredible.
That guy is the head coach of Bethesda. And now I'm like, oh, this makes sense now. They have basically a pseudo, not as popular LeVar Ball as their head coach for Bethesda women's basketball, and they have 5 players, and they only had 4 play against USD. They had all 5 play against CSUN, and they have lost now 92 to 23 and 103 to 13 with 5 players. How is this not getting investigated by the NCAA? Well, I guess, I don't know, because they're not an NCAA school. By the way, they're not an NAIA school either. They're an NCCAA school. How do you go about this and let this continue to happen? I don't understand. I don't understand you could continue to have this continue to happen. Can you tell me? I didn't even realize this, because now everybody and their mother wants to know about Bethesda University. I mean, this is the biggest publicity they've probably ever had.
Yeah.
They're being talked about all over the place. I had never heard of Bethesda until this year. It's a private Christian university in Anaheim, founded in 1976 by David Yonggi Cho. Their enrollment, you want to know what their enrollment is, Frank?
12,000.
Less.
Oh.
Way less.
4,000.
12,000. Dude, TCU's 12,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. In that case, 1,500.
Less.
Oh my goodness. 600.
Less.
The 5 that were on the basketball team.
399. So there's 394 other students that go to this school.
Jesus.
Their most prominent accomplishment for their athletics program comes from the men's basketball team. In 2016 and 2021, Bethesda men's basketball, led by Leo Balalon, became the only second non-NCAA NAIA program in history to upset NCAA Division I program twice when it defeated Cal State Northridge of the Big West on 2 occasions.
I thought you were going to say led a game at one point.
No.
I thought that was where you were going to go with that.
How do you let this continue to happen? I don't get it.
It's for the love of the game, man. If you're playing at Bethesda or a university of the such, it's for the love of the game.
Right.
You cannot knock those kids for playing for NIL money, for playing for the sole purpose of getting to the big time. That is for the love of the game. I
can't believe it's like, this is something that they have. Like, I went back and looked at their website. They do have an assistant coach. He's listed on the website.
He wasn't there.
He hasn't been to the last 2 days. Where's he at? Where's the 4 other girls? It just doesn't make any sense. I can't believe it. They were down 72 to nothing. 72 to nothing at one point before they hit a 3-pointer. I truly unbelievable. It's a great 3-pointer, though.
It was a beautiful shot.
All right. We're off and running. That was the college basketball update to get the show started. All 3 local teams won at the men's level, which is great to see. Congrats to UCSD, USD, and San Diego State. Hopefully they keep that up as the non-conference continues. But we have Padres news. Fallouts of the Yu Darvish news from yesterday. And regardless of who the new manager is, they're going to need a new hitting coach. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. All guests on 97 to the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Got a lot to break down today. We talked about some Aztec basketball. We'll talk more about the Aztecs later on in the show. Do you want to get to a pressing matter here? As it has now been released a couple of times, we've got breaking news coming onto the show. This kind of happened a little bit yesterday after the show that Victor Rodriguez was talking to the Houston Astros about being their hitting coach. Well, as Kevin Acee reported this morning at 9:13 in the morning, whoever the next Padres manager is will have to have a new hitting coach in 2026. Victor Rodriguez and the Astros, blank screen, are finalizing a deal for him to become that franchise's hitting coach after he spent 2 seasons in the role for the Padres. That means the Padres' 4th manager in 7 seasons will have a hand in hiring the team's 10th hitting coach since 2015. I'm sorry, is that 10 hitting coaches in 11 years?
So
10 years?
12.
10 and 12? In 2024, Rodriguez's first season, the Padres led the majors in batting average for the first time in franchise history. They finished 7th last season, which was their 2nd highest ranking in the past 22 years. However, their home run and run production fell in 2025. They ranked 28th in Major League Baseball in home runs and 18th in runs scored. Rodriguez had 1 year remaining on his contract with the Padres, who granted permission for the Astros to speak to Rodriguez. The Padres have yet to name a manager to replace retired Mike Schilt. Last week, team officials conducted in-person interviews with at least 3 men, Nick Hundley, Ruben Niebla, and Albert Pujols, who were described by sources as finalists for the job. The Padres have declined to comment on the search. We have nothing on the managerial search, correct, Frank? Nothing else.
Not a thing.
Haven't seen anything.
It is crickets and cobwebs is what we got right
All
now.
quiet on the Western Metal front, huh? Yes, it is. It's been like that. The last report that we had on this was that they should have a decision by the end of the week last week, right? Well, now they don't. And now we're waiting still. But they're going to have to build out a whole new staff. More likely than not. Whether or not they keep Ruben Niebla will remain to be seen. He's still under contract, though. I haven't seen the Padres grant him any permissions for teams to interview him for any type of job. But here's the thing about Victor Rodriguez, right? Everybody wanted him gone. Well, now you got him gone. He's gone now. But is it jarring that the Astros want him? I mean, the Houston Astros are a good team. And they've been a great organization in the last 10 years. I mean, say what you want about banging trash cans. Aside from like that, they've won World Series even without doing that. They want him to be their hitting coach. It's not like he's going there for a promotion or a demotion. He's taking a lateral job in an organization that has been better than the Padres in the last 10 years. They've been better than the Padres in the last 5 years. And he's taken the job. Is this a be careful what you wish for? It could be. We'll discuss that a little bit further when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. 10:34 on a Wednesday. Padres baseball to discuss. Cody in the chat. Maybe Luis Arraez is going to bat second for the Astros. Interesting conversation. Victor Rodriguez, the new manager, not the manager, the new hitting coach for the Houston Astros. Let me ask you this question, Frank. I mean, to me, I think this is a be careful what you wish for situation. The fact that an organization like the Houston Astros wanted Victor Rodriguez, are they stupid, or did we as fans overreact every time that the Padres offense wasn't doing very well?
I think it can be both. I think you also have to kind of know the players that you're coaching and what their strengths and weaknesses are, and try to figure out how their strengths and weaknesses fit into your philosophy, which I think Victor Rodriguez didn't do the greatest job at doing this last year. I think really it's that determination, I think, has to be made after we see what the Houston Astro offense is this year. If it looks similar, if it's not producing the same results, if their power numbers take a dip, then yeah, maybe Victor Rodriguez was the problem. But I think the Astros being as good a team as they are, going out and hiring him, I don't necessarily think that's the marker that the Padres have overreacted, or Padre fans overreacted to the lack of offense that this team had this year.
I mean, I just don't know how much the hitting coach is really in the minds of a lot of these players at the major league level. I mean, even at like the lower levels, everybody has their personal hitting coach. I mean, like, how much is Fernando? Because I don't know. I'm not down there. Maybe he's listening to him all the time. But like, How much is Fernando listening to Victor Rodriguez compared to like his dad, right?
He had an offensive year unlike any other that he has had, and that's not in a good way this year. So
well, there was some good. He was more patient up there, which is good.
There was.
If he can add it to his power stuff, but not take away from his power numbers. Now, is that all Victor Rodriguez?
I would say it's partly. Because if you're trying to implement something and you're putting focus on that, you're just naturally going to be taking focus away from something else.
I just don't know how philosophy for a team that's like grinding out at bats and trying to get guys on base has a guy like a Rice swing out of his shoes on stuff. Like there were so many individual players that were doing different things that didn't fit the mold of what the team was doing, that it made it sound like he's either being instructed to do something else or he's just doing his own thing. I do find it interesting that the Astros saw Victor Rodriguez, like, we want this guy. I can't, like, we want this. I mean, think about it. It's not like he was a man without a contract. He was under contract for another year. The Padres had to approve and grant permission. They had to give the permission to the Astros to interview him. He was the guy that the Astros wanted. I find it interesting. And I'm not a big Victor Rodriguez supporter, but at the same time, it's just I feel like sometimes we complain about things that we probably shouldn't be complaining about.
But you can also look at it in the way of they granted the permission to the Astros to interview him. So that was unlike what we've been talking about with Ruben Niebla. That was a guy that they clearly felt they looked at the risk reward and said, okay, this is a guy that we can let go and not hurt too many things.
Also, the fact that they don't have a manager right now.
That
plays a different factor. If Mike Schilt doesn't retire,
who knows?
And the Astros call the Padres about Victor Rodriguez, do you think they say yes? I don't, to have the same job. I doubt it. I think the fact that they don't know who the manager is going to be, well, they probably do, but I mean, I'm sure the manager is going to want to have his own staff. And to me, it's like you would be holding the guy hostage, and then all of a sudden you hire Nick Hundley, or you hire Albert Pujols, or even Ruben Abel, and he wants a different guy in there, and all of a sudden you're going to just hose Victor Rodriguez like that? I think it's the professional thing to do if you're the Padres.
Correct. I agree with that. And I've been getting this feeling. Now, I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that maybe because we had talked about them hiring a manager and AJ Preller's contract extension seeming imminent, right? And I had floated the idea out there that maybe they'll announce them together. I wouldn't be surprised if they have the manager picked out and are waiting on one of the two negotiations to be able to do that. I would have to assume at this point we've heard absolutely nothing. We've heard nothing of more interviews. The fourth candidate is still a mystery. I wouldn't be surprised if the pick has been made, but they're waiting on one of the two contracts to be done to be able to announce them together.
We haven't heard anything on the general manager deal. We haven't heard anything on the manager situation. Nothing on any type of the staff. And maybe that's the case. Maybe they're trying to figure out a way to keep Ruben Niebla if he's not the guy. And they're working on building the staff out so they can just announce it all at once. I think a lot of that could be in play too. I do find it interesting that the two assistant coaches that Padres fans dislike the most are the ones that are getting interviewed for jobs by teams that are contenders. Leeper got an interview with the Mets.
Yes.
As an assistant role. I don't know if he was...
Anton Richardson left.
I don't know if Leeper's contract was up or not, or if that was another permission thing, but it was him and it was Victor Rodriguez. Those were the two that got interviews with other teams, and both those teams are contending teams year in and year out. Even though the Mets didn't make the playoffs this year, that doesn't mean they weren't a contender for the entire year, and they're not going to continue to be a contender in the National League. The Astros are going to be a continuous contender in the American League every single year, and they're good organizations. Does it change if, like, the Rockies hired Victor Rodriguez? I think the output's like, oh, good luck to them.
Yeah.
But I think it's something to be said about a good organization that has won World Series in the past and have been arguably the best team in the American League for the last 6 years. I mean, how many ALCSs have they made it to? They sought out Victor Rodriguez. I think that's telling.
But it does. I don't think it's a move that moves the needle at all, really, either way. I mean, of course, we've seen them in the chat. There are going to be Padre fans that are saying, "Oh, well, good riddance." But for me, it's not a relief, but it's also not a worry either, at least from my perspective.
I'm not super in at the major league level for baseball. I think your staff is like, it is what it is. I don't think it's like a massive thing. I think you can tweak a couple. I think, I evaluate the staff on, can they get players that are not getting a ton of money because they're like mid-level guys in Major League Baseball? Can they get into the next level? Like, can they get the most out of those players? That's how I evaluate. That's why guys like Ruben Niebla are great, because you get a guy like Jeremiah Estrada who got DFA'd from the Cubs, and you turned him into a good bullpen piece, right? So the credit goes to Ruben Niebla with working with him and stuff like that. And then you start looking at some of the other guys that they've turned, like all these bullpen guys that have turned into starters. But the other thing too, it's like maybe this was a case too. I mean, and maybe I am blanking on the times that I've heard this, but like when we go down and talk to players, they always talk about Ruben, the pitching staff is. How many times have our hitters been like, man, just working with Victor Rodriguez is great? When's the last time you heard that in an interview with any of the hitting coaches? I mean, any of them. They've had 10 different ones since 2015.
I can't pick a time.
I can't think off the top of my head where I could picture that right now.
And
we hear it every single time a pitcher talks to the media. Maybe that's just pitchers. Maybe pitchers like to give credit where hitters don't, and they're focused on themselves. But I can't remember a time where I heard a Padres hitter just like talk about the hitting coach. They talk about the manager.
Yeah.
They talk about playing for Mike Schilt, right? They don't talk about the hitting coach. I just find it interesting.
Benjorno in the chat. We're not discussing a rumor here. This has happened. It's done. Victor Rodriguez is a Houston Astro now.
Right. I think it's very telling that it goes to a good team. I don't know. And we'll see. If the Astros next year, and here's the thing, this is where you could tell to see if it's really the hitting coach or not. If the Astros that next year rake, and you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, maybe it wasn't him that was calling the bunts. But if they're out there bunting and playing a bunch of small ball, then you'd be like, oh, maybe it was the hitting coach. I don't think it really was. I think most of the bunting and all that stuff was Mike Schilt.
Yeah, and again, that's also hard to tell because you don't have a year without Mike Schilt here with Victor Rodriguez here to see if that changes. So now you have both of them gone, so you can't say, oh, well, it was definitely Schilt or it was definitely Rodriguez.
You're going to bring in like an Albert Pujols, right? What if the Padres and the Astros both rake?
Yeah, there you go.
I just find that news to be interesting. Well, one less guy you have to worry about, Padres fans. Him and Leaper potentially not being. But again, unless Ruben Niebla gets the job, is this a sign that Ruben Niebla is not getting the job?
I would have to assume he's
where
not
all these staff members are leaving.
I would have to assume he's not getting the job at this point. If Pujols is not off the table already, and all of these teams have a manager set, except for the Rockies, I can't imagine Niebla has the job. I would have to assume it's Albert Pujols at this point.
Yeah, I'm not going to be in the business of assuming, but my betting is being a little bit more lenient or leaning towards the Albert Pujols Yachty kind of situation. Mm-hmm. We'll find out. At 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Mo in San Diego. Mo, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, thanks again for taking my call. I'm starting to see a lot of questions come from the Padres, and I think that's something that's starting to concern me, right? So there's the question of the GM contract, of what that's going to happen, what that's going to look like. Now we have questions around some of the managerial staff with Schulte leaving, and now Vic. So there's a lot of questions at first base, questions with the starting rotation. So that's been the source of concern for me over the last couple of days. Then you throw in the Darvish situation, which is going to tie up some funds for us. It's also concerning to see what Joe Musgrove is going to be able to do coming back from a major injury. So all those concerns really are starting to pile up for me. And I'm starting to see that there's some potential, right, for us to drop the ball on one thing or another. The more questions you have, the dirtier your house is, the more a probability of you potentially dropping something or dropping the ball somewhere. So I think what's best for the Padres moving forward is that we need to be able to topple over some of those dominoes, right? We need to be able to make sure that we have answers organizationally for all these questions that are sort of just floating around.
And there are a lot of questions, Mel, when you bring up a lot of good points, and I appreciate the phone call. Yeah, there are a lot of questions circling the Padres. I mean, and everything that they get reports out there of, oh, this is going to happen, and then it hasn't happened.
I think that's the worst part of it, is that it has been nothing but dead silence. Like, there's no hints in any direction as to where this team is going to go. And I think that the longer that silence goes, the more and more worried the fan base is going to get. And I believe rightfully so. But as far as the house getting messier, once the first bit of information starts to trickle out, which that first bit of information is going to be your manager. Once that starts to trickle out, the picture becomes clearer, and then you start to get the direction coming naturally. It's so much unknown, and there's no hints at all about what the direction is.
Well, let's just talk about the last month. It's a lot of talk and not a lot of action. For the last month, the first report was the Padres are expecting to bring back Mike Schulte and AJ Preller. And then what happened the next week?
Nothing.
Mike Schulte retired. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, that's not what was being reported. And then it was, they expect AJ Preller to sign a contract extension during the offseason. And one report was saying, yeah, it's expected to happen, and they've said all the right things. Where's the contract extension? I mean, it's been weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Haven't heard anything on that. No updates, nothing. And then you got Dennis Lin being like, well, there's nothing imminent right now. Nobody's saying there's anything imminent with AJ Preller signing a contract extension. Then last week, it was they should have a manager by the end of the week. It's Wednesday of this week.
Of the next week.
It's literally been a week since that had been reported. We got that last Wednesday. And now you still don't have anything. Again, it's just a lot of we are going to do this. And then it's not a lot of doing anything.
There's a little bit of discourse going on in the chat right now. One comment that poked out at me was R. Barker in the chat saying that players are opting out left and right as well. The players that are opting out were the players that we expected to opt out.
Those guys were opting out for money.
We did not expect Michael King to return.
No,
on
not for
that
$15 million. He's not.
And the players that they have recently announced, the Kyle Harts, the Tyler Wades, the Elias Diaz's, and they're waiting on Ramon Laureano now. Those are team options. Those are team or mutual options. So the Padres were making the decision on them.
I mean, they're not going to let Ramon Laureano opt out. He doesn't have the ability to opt out anyway. Most of those were expected. Right. The players, though.
So it's not like the players are abandoning ship because they don't know who's going to be the manager. They have just as many questions as we do. Players are abandoning ship because they want money. They wanted their contracts, and some of them, the more recent ones that we've heard, have been kicked off. They've been kicked off the ship.
Right. His point is recruiting players out of manager in place is not easy. Yeah,
right, but you're not recruiting players right now because free agency hasn't started.
I'm sure there's some like
Oh,
conversations behind the
players
scenes.
are.
Players could
definitely
be.
are.
They probably have a direction behind the scenes. Just because they haven't officially hired anybody yet doesn't mean they doesn't have their guy, right?
Especially at this point, yeah, they have to have their guy picked already.
If
I
Pujols
would
was
have
named
to-
manager, there's no way Bobby Suarez opts out. That's a flat out lie,
That's
dude.
that's a lie.
He's
not
opting
right.
out, and I'll give you 20 million reasons why he would do that.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to opt in for less money than what he could get on the open market because of who the manager is.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing too with like guys like Michael King. He has to decline his option. He gets $3.75 million guaranteed or whatever his buyout was. That was part of his original contract and why he signed.
I remember
with that.
King was the one that took it to, I believe it was the 11th hour for his qualifying offer, for his arbitration offer.
Right.
So King, you knew was not going to be here at the for 2026.
833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Kevin in Chula Vista. Kevin, you're on the Braden Surprenant Show. What's going on?
Well, thanks again, man. It's a good conversation as usual. I would caution anybody to cast negative comments about Victor Rodriguez unless they have inside information as to what actually went on behind the scenes with this baseball team this year. There's so much that we don't know because, after all, they're the nuclear secret Padres. What I do know and what we do know is simply this. There is a core of players now that have been here a number of years, and I include Manny, Fernando, Bogarts, go right down the list, Jake. There's 6 or 7 of them that are earning hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and have cost this franchise about $1.5 billion in salary when it's all said and done. None of the light ever gets shined on them. And it's about time, I would say, that we come to grips with the fact that we have some players here who've got some problems. They really do. And when you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, put them up next to the San Diego Padres. Who would you take? I'll take the Toronto Blue Jays every single day, every single time, on the way they carry themselves, the way they conduct themselves, in the way they approach their business, well beyond what the prima donnas of the San Diego Padres have to offer. And this is a problem, and we need to have a conversation about this. We've got several players here that are in love with the back of their baseball card, but you know what's missing on the back of their baseball card, Braden?
What?
There's no championship rings, is there?
No, not a lot of them. Kevin, I appreciate the phone call. This is why, like a lot of the things, and this is why we like Albert Pujols. I think you have the roster that you assembled, that you wanted, like that you think you're going to win with. You need to get the best out of those players, and you need to hire a manager that's going to get the best out of those players. That solves a lot of the Padres' problems, does it not, Frank?
Yeah, it does.
Most of the Padres' problems stem from the 5 guys that are signed under contract into the 2030s.
Mm-hmm.
That is where a lot of these problems stem from.
MLB officially updated their list of free agents. Harrison Bader, Elias Diaz, Kyle Farmer, Kyle Hart, Liam Hendricks, Rhys Hoskins, Shota Imanaga, Martin Perez, who I think is already signed actually somewhere, and Jose Quintana. Those are the 9 that were listed. Now 162 free agents.
There you go. It's going to be expensive on the free agent market. Interesting article put out in The Athletic that we're going to get to later on, but let's get to the aftermath. Questions linger after the Darvish announcement. We'll get to that in the 11 o'clock hour. 11 o'clock hour. All guests on 97 through the Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorney, is helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. We're going to talk about the aftermath of the Yu Darvish thing in a second. And we're going to talk about the free agency later on in the show. We got a lot of baseball talk today, mixed with some college football stuff, some college basketball. Aztecs win last night. NFL trade deadline came and went yesterday as well. So a lot to get to. But like the more we sit here and talk about this managerial hiring, or should I say lack thereof, and we're still waiting to hear back on a lot of different things. And maybe they'll hire a manager during this segment, Frank. They just announced the spring training schedule. That's fun. Does anybody get super hyped for the spring training schedule? Does it really matter?
I got pretty hyped for it the last couple of years because I knew I'd be back here. I knew I'd be back here on a regular basis.
I'm just talking from a standpoint of like who you play and when you play them. Does anybody really care?
No.
I mean, it's not like you're like, hey, I can make a trip to whatever. You go to spring training, they're all there. They're all in Arizona. They're all in the Phoenix area. And you're playing all the teams in the Cactus League. It's like, who cares?
I drove past the Peoria Sports Complex on my way to Phoenix Raceway last year. They played the Reds the day after the NASCAR race at Peoria.
Nice. Thanks for that.
I did not go because I think it was like $60, $70 for a ticket.
Spring training's fun for like the backfields. It's not really fun for like the game. I mean, the games they are what they are, and you got to put out a schedule release and all that fun stuff. But anyway, let's get back to this managerial thing. I saw this in the chat earlier, and it brings up a good question. If the Padres actually did know who their manager was, because we said like, well, maybe they already know who their manager is. If the Padres actually knew who their manager was and were going to make a decision on it, wouldn't they have already hired said manager? If they knew for a fact that like Pujols is their guy, or Nick Hundley is their guy, or Ruben Niebla is their guy, wouldn't they have already made that decision?
The only thing I would think that's stopping them, like I said, is they want to announce the manager and the general manager extension at the same time.
Right, but then the counter to that, and I agree with this, is with baseball, it would have gotten out. It would have been leaked out. What are they going to do? Tell Dennis Lin and Kevin Acee, hey, like, keep it on the DL? I mean, eventually, if one of those guys knew, they'd be telling their friends and family. And then all of a sudden, that just starts to leak out even more, right? I mean, people would know. They would find out. You can't, as secretive as the Padres are, and they have been, if one of those three guys were the guy, they would have hired him by now. Or you would have known about it. Let's talk about that number 4 candidate. Remember that was reported?
By God, it's the fourth man.
By God. It's the fourth man's music. They talked about another candidate, potentially. They said less than 4. No more than 4 finalists. Well, we know 3 of the names. We don't know the 4th one. Is this potentially holding up this entire thing? Is maybe the 4th person the front runner? And a lot of people are going to start assuming, they're like, oh, well, the World Series just ended. Maybe it's Don Mattingly. I don't think it's Don Mattingly. Think about the 4th candidate now for a second. Is it taking so long because they're negotiating with this person? Or is it taking so long because, I don't know, maybe he's employed by another team? And maybe it's not an assistant coach. Who remembers? Let's ask the question. Who was the manager before Mike Schilt? Who wants to give me the answer? I know you guys all know who the answer is. Who is the answer? Frank, I'll call on you. Popcorn Frank. Who was the manager before Mike Schilt?
This really separates the men from the boys here.
Oh, God.
Would it have been, who is Bob Melvin?
Who is Bob Melvin is correct.
Yes.
Does anybody remember when Bob Melvin got hired? I do. I was at work, and I was about to leave because it was around this time, and I was about to leave to go down to Draft in Mission Beach because we used to do these appearances at Draft at Mission Beach. And I remember getting an update. It wasn't a report from Jeff Passan. It wasn't a report from Dennis Lynn. It wasn't a report from Kevin Acee. It wasn't a report from Jeff Sanders. It wasn't a report from AJ Cassaville. It was an announcement by the San Diego Padres that they had hired Bob Melvin as their manager. And my first reaction was, I didn't even know that guy was available. He was the current manager of the Oakland Athletics. So let me ask you this question, Frank. Is it crazy to think now, but the last time that they did this, that it could be a current manager in Major League Baseball that might be the fourth candidate, and therefore it is taking this long because the Padres are trying to work out a deal with said team to bring in said manager?
I would say it is crazy, but I would say it is not outside the realm of possibility.
It's not that crazy because the last hire that they had was this particular instance. Could they do that exact same thing? Pull up the manager list. Go through it. There's some managers you just cross off the list to get things started. Anybody that just got hired obviously is not going to be one of those managers, right? So like a Texas Rangers and Skip Schumacher, they just hired him. They're not going to negotiate for him to go somewhere else. It's not Skip Schumacher. You can cross out Kurt Suzuki. It's not going to be Albernaz, who just had his press conference. Who could it be? Go through the list. I mean, if you look at names of managers that you would like to see be the Padres manager, I think it's a very small list. And maybe that's what's taking so long. You look at just an alphabetical order, the Athletics, Mark Kotsay. I could see the Padres doing that. Mark Kotsay has ties to San Diego. He still lives in San Diego. He obviously played for the Padres for a while. Maybe they believe in Mark Kotsay. Maybe they renegotiate with the A's again to get a manager back down here. Maybe it's Mark Kotsay. Interesting. Could it be a guy like Alex Cora? I think that would be kind of crazy. Alex Cora? I think it's possible. That could be one of them. Maybe Will Venable? That's another one, potentially. So, a lot of different things with this manager. The one to me that I think that we should go with is in the National League West. And we could talk about that in just a second. But we do have a guest today for coming on the show. We're going to get to them when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 11:14, and we're going to get to some more Padres talk later on, but we do want to talk some Aztecs football with the start to the season that they've had, trying to finish strong here in the second half of the season. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, and joining us now on the airwaves, a cornerback for the San Diego State Aztecs out of Long Beach, California, the transfer from Tennessee State, who has done an incredible job with this Aztecs defense. That is a big reason why they are 7-1 and right there knocking on the door, not only at a Mountain West championship appearance, maybe a Mountain West championship in general, and also right in the conversation, if things go their way, could be in the college football playoff. Our guest on the 97 through the Fans fan hotline, which is powered by David P. Shapiro. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys, helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. Senior cornerback Bryce Phillips. Bryce, sounds like you just finished up practice. How'd practice go today?
Pretty good. I appreciate you guys for having me on. Practice went well. Sticking to the plan and ready to go for Saturday.
Guys have a really good defense this year. Obviously, one of the captains, Tana Latuli, Trey White, couple of local guys. What about this defense makes you guys so good so far this season?
It's our grittiness, and it's our just willing to just not give up points every week. Like, the goal every week is a shutout. And having those high standards and everybody on the field and everybody who comes on the field to hold up that standard, like, I can see it in everybody's eye when we line up in that huddle. Everybody wants the same thing.
We're talking with Bryce Phillips, cornerback for the San Diego State Aztecs. The kid grew up in Southern California, spent some time at Orange Lutheran, went to Santa Ana College, then to Tennessee State. How great is it to be back in California?
It's a blessing. I went from Tennessee State to San Diego, so it's like going from 1,500 miles away to going 90 miles away from my family, and they're able to come to more of the games, and I'm able to go down there whenever I want to. So it's a blessing to be able to have my family at the games more.
Yeah, it's a lot better than having to go out. Plus, the weather's way better too. You get something that you grew up with more than the humidity out there in Tennessee.
Yep.
Let's talk about your game in general. I mean, obviously, you're paired with Johnson on the other side, who's getting a lot of accolades, but it's a two-man crew when you're talking about cornerbacks in college football and being able to shut down some pretty good offenses that you're gonna have to face in the Mountain West, and then coming up again, and not only this weekend against Hawaii, but also against Boise State. What's the DB room like at San Diego State with a lot of good athletes that you have, and some guys that after last season came back to play here at San Diego State with all the returners? Talk about the experience this group has and why you guys are so prideful in shutting people out.
It's everything. I mean, I feel like we all had opportunities to go somewhere bigger. Like, we're all great players solo, but bringing everybody together and having the chemistry, like, we're all competitive, and having me and Chris in the same room, like, we both compete with each other in fall camp. Like, and when we go out to game day, it becomes easy because we're both trying to not give up nothing. So that brings the game day way easier.
You get to play in a brand new stadium at Snapdragon Stadium. Obviously, we're all working on trying to get you guys some more support and fans in the stands. But, for you, growing up in Southern California, playing in the Trinity League, which is one of the best in the nation in high school football, what's it like playing at San Diego State? What would you tell a lot of high school kids that, might be interested in coming down to play at San Diego State about the opportunities that you've been given? But also, you got a lot of guys on this team that could be potentially playing again on Sundays, and the opportunity that San Diego State gives all of you guys in potentially continuing your dream.
I feel like it starts with the coaching. Like, we have a great set of coaches. Like, they're all young. Our head coach is young, and it just feels like home. Like, this is my home and this is where I'm from. But, like, when I talk to all the coaches, I can have a deep conversation with them, and they all bring their family around the facility. Like, they have their kids around, and I know all their kids. And it's just a great environment to work because everybody is so passionate in what they do.
We're talking with Bryce Phillips, who is a cornerback for San Diego State, getting ready for a game against Hawaii. And then you got Boise State at home, and you got a couple more games left, San Jose State, New Mexico, as you guys try to, 1 week at a time, put yourself in the conversation of the college football playoff. What does Hawaii bring that's going to be some challenges for you guys as you fly out to Hawaii this weekend?
I mean, they bring a passing threat because they throw the ball probably 50 out of 60 snaps, and that's going to be great for us because we pride ourselves in being the best DB corps in the nation. And so it's going to be a great challenge, and we plan to come out and do what we're supposed to do and do what we have been doing. And so it's going to be a fun game.
It's always easy to say, like, we're focused one game at a time, and that's what the message is all the time. You got Boise State the week after. How difficult is it for you guys to stay laser focused 1 week at a time, knowing that there's some big opponents coming up?
I don't think it's that difficult no more because the record we're 7-1, but like taking every week, we realize doing that, it helps us focus in on all the details and the things we have to do each week, and just doing that, it helps us play better on Saturday. And so everybody, I feel like, is bought into the week to week, and we correct each other whenever somebody says, "Oh, I'm ready for this week. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for now. We got this week first." And so we got to beat every team every week.
How much do you, because your brother Clark Phillips III is a cornerback in the NFL, plays for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, how much do you pick his brain as you go through the season?
I think he's brain about everything. Like after every game, he's texting me. He's telling me what I did good, what I did bad sometimes. But just like being able to have them as support and have him correct me on things I need to work on, it's great because he's at the highest level.
Last thing for you, Aztec basketball started last night. Being a college athlete is like a full-time job. So you guys don't have that much opportunity to be able to see some of the other teams around campus. But, you know, they've had a lot of success too. They started off pretty well. I mean, they got a pretty good team. You guys ever get interested in watching the Aztecs basketball team when they tip off?
I'm always interested in Aztec basketball. Like every single game I want to go, but usually doesn't work out with my schedule. I think I went to one game so far, but I've been trying to figure out ways to get to the games without being in the student section because I really like enjoying the game rather than, going to turn up. So I'm actually trying to figure out that now, how I'm going to do that.
Well, they got a lot of good games coming up, and I'm sure you guys as a football team will be able to watch them a little bit, just as much as they're watching you. You guys are doing a great job. Yeah. Continue the good work, and good luck this weekend against Hawaii. Thanks for the time, Bryce.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Bryce Phillips, cornerback for the San Diego State Aztecs, joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Aztec football has been really good. 7-1 year this season. We told you. We tried to tell you. at the beginning of the year. Nobody wanted to listen. Better take that over on the wins and loss on the over under for the wins total for the season. So, congratulations to the Aztecs and the season that they have had so far this year. Bryce Phillips joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. That was good.
Yeah, nice, fun interview. Good kid.
I want to go back to the Padres stuff. And we'll talk Aztec football later on. We're going to talk Aztec basketball in the next hour. There's so much to get to on the show. But let's talk about the scenario that we've talked about before. Maybe it's taking so long to hire a manager because the fourth candidate is actually the favorite candidate. And if it's taking this long and there's no release of a name, could that candidate be already a manager in Major League Baseball? What are your overall thoughts on that, Frank?
I don't know how often you can go back to that well. I mean, it's something that's very I wouldn't say uncharacteristic. But that's the only word I'm thinking of. It's something that's not done often. And I think for AJ to do this twice in 4 years to get a manager, I think that might be pushing the envelope a little bit too much as far as doing this, because I mean, you have good candidates available that you don't need to worry about another team. Like, I wouldn't mind, of course, the name that we all like here is Torey Lovello. But what are you going to have? What are you going to be comfortable giving a division rival to take their manager away from them? Or maybe AJ Hinch, who has turned that Tigers team around that looks like it's about to get torn apart.
He was in the front office here for a long time.
Yes. I wouldn't mind seeing AJ Hinch here. But those are big names, and those are names that come with success. Both have been to the World Series, and AJ Hinch has won it. I think you have just as good candidates waiting where you don't have to mess with another team, that it's not a need. You don't need to do that right now.
I don't mind it. Because at the end of the day, and this is what I learned like early on, at the beginning, especially with the right, because I like Torey Lovello. And I don't think it is Torey Lovello, but if it is, and they announced that Torey Lovello is the new manager of the Padres, I think people would lose their mind.
Oh, yeah, I think it would be great.
But here's the deal. I don't care about other teams in the division. I don't care. If it makes my team better, I don't care. And I used to be like, well, I don't want to trade with division opponents and like, oh, how are we going to do this? And I think we overthink that as fans. The reality of the situation is if you're focused on yourself and you're focused on making your team better, it shouldn't matter what you're giving up because you know your team is going to be better. So I don't really care what it would have to be if you happen to have to negotiate within the division to get a manager off of a division rival. So I think all of that is just kind of noise. But I look at if this is a and this is just a conversation because we haven't seen anything yet about who the fourth candidate might be. But let's talk about this for a second. Start thinking, and I don't think there's a lot of managers in baseball that this would be worth negotiating for. Go through the list. The Athletics with Mark Kotsay, sure, add him to the list. I think that would be one that would be, okay, it's a good hire, in my opinion. It ain't going to be Craig Albarnaz at Baltimore. He just got hired. Alex Cora, potentially. He's under contract for the 2 years. There's been some grumbling from Red Sox fans about Alex Cora. That happens in all those big markets. Will Venable, maybe. Maybe. Does he win the press conference? I don't know if he does. Do you care about that? Maybe. Is Will Venable? Let's go back to the whole 10-year thing. Mark Kotsay could be the manager for the Padres for the next 10 years. Alex Cora could be the manager for the Padres for the next 10 years. Will Venable? Maybe. Maybe. I still think he probably fits a younger team like the White Sox. Stephen Vogt? No. AJ Hinch with his connections that he has with the Padres in the past? Maybe, but I don't put him on that list. Joe Espada? No. Matt Cortaro for the Royals? No. Kurt Suzuki? No. Derek Shelton just got hired? No. Aaron Boone? Probably not. Dan Wilson? No. Kevin Cash?
Carlos Mendoza's a good manager.
No, he's not. Stop it. Skip Schumacher. The way you said it just gave it away that he's not. Skip Schumacher just got hired? No. John Schneider, the Blue Jays? That wouldn't make any sense.
I was excited for him to be here.
Sure. So those are the three names, right? Kotsay, Cora, Hinch. Anybody else on that list in the American League? That would make a lot of sense. That's the Bob Melvin splash that it was.
No,
I think that's it.
Other than Hinch, Kotsay, no.
Hinch, Kotsay, Cora. National League. Torey Lovello, absolutely. In fact, that would be if I had to pick any other manager in Major League Baseball to be the Padres manager on something like this, it would be Torey Lovello. He's on there. Walt Weiss just got hired. No thanks. Craig Counsell.
No.
I don't know why he would leave Chicago. He's had success everywhere he's gone.
Cubs traded for him too.
They did.
From the Brewers.
This is not crazy. It's not crazy. We've seen this now a couple of times. He's interesting. Terry Francona.
No.
I'd love that Terry Francona.
I mean,
that would be the greatest press conferences ever.
He certainly has the credentials, but as far as the age goes, that he just got back into it. I wouldn't go with Francona.
He intrigues me, but I wouldn't put him on the list. Dave Roberts. No. That would be hilarious. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the anarchy?
To ruin baseball in San Diego.
He just I'm done with the Dodgers. I'm going to go try to win in San Diego. I mean, could you imagine he would be the most hated man in all of Southern California.
Nate Taylor with the right name.
John Kruk.
John Kruk. Let's get him back in a uniform.
Clayton McCullough just got hired for the Marlins. No. Pat Murphy. Is he worth bringing back? Carlos Mendoza?
Yes.
No.
Rob
Thompson. Rob Thompson get fired by the Phillies. That's what I kept hearing. He was going to get fired.
Yeah. They said that he's coming back.
Don Kelly, no. Oliver Marmol, no. They just hired Tony Vitello, and they just hired Blake Butera. There's 4 names on that list. It's Lavello, it's Hinch, it's Kotze, it's Cora. So unless it's one of those four guys, that theory of potentially being the 4th name is interesting. The only one that makes sense out of that 4, though, Frank, is Lavello. But the only caveat is it's a divisional thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be why it's being held up. I mean, that's true. Plus, here's the other thing, too. Why would anybody have to report that Lavello was going to come back for the Diamondbacks? That shouldn't even be said. That shouldn't even be said. That was reported at the end of the season that he was going to come back. And Diamondbacks are bringing him back.
When was his contract up?
Not for, I think, a couple of years. They just gave him a contract extension like 2 years ago. And they had to report that he was going to come back. Like it was a question that they were going to fire him for no reason.
Maybe to quell rumors after a bad season. I don't know.
It is the Arizona Diamondbacks we're talking about. It is a team from Arizona. You know how well-run their organizations are out there in the desert.
Yeah, well, you know.
He's the only one that would make any sense in that particular category.
To run so well, one of them moved to Utah.
Yeah, and became the Mammoth. Aside from that, the only other one that makes sense would be they're waiting this long because the 4th managerial candidate could be Don Mattingly, who was a bench coach. I don't even know. What was his official title with the...
I think he was the bench coach.
For Toronto.
For the Blue Jays, yeah.
That would be the only other reason, because they could not interview him until the World Series was over. So maybe that's part of the equation. But it's an interesting food for thought. And what got us to here is if they knew who the manager was going to be, and they said they were going to have, I mean, the report was it was going to be like that at the end of the season. At the end of the last week, they were going to have the name. Then why haven't they hired the guy already if they 100% knew who their guy was going to be? Unless there was something else held up. I think all of these potential reasons of why it's held up make a lot of sense. Like what Frank said. Maybe they're working on the contract with Preller and the staff so they could just report it immediately. They don't have to do multiple deals.
Yeah, you don't need to. I mean, that's really the only thing I can think of at this point is you're having staff leave. My guess would be you're just going to announce the entire staff in one shot. I mean, you're not going to do a press conference for a 3rd base coach. Just do your manager at the same time. Say, hey, AJ's under contract until the manager contract is done, preferably 3 years. And then my staff is going to be boom, 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 boom. And it's done. It's over and done in one shot. You don't have to wait for trickles of news to come out.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of these, like they hire the manager and it's like, we still got to we got to discuss decisions on staff and all that stuff. They do that after the fact if they already know who their manager is going to be. I find it odd. And I'm tired of having people DM me or text me. When do you think the Padres are going to hire a manager? Brother, your guess is as best as mine now.
We don't get inside news like that.
And if we do, we're pretty sly at talking about it.
Yeah, we're not sitting here on information and trying to draw attention away from it.
Right. So, I just think it's an interesting topic of discussion. Maybe the 4th candidate that we don't know is the front runner, and that's what's taking so long. That's what's interesting to me. Still have any updates on the AJ Preller potentially signing a contract extension? None of that. 833-288-973, 833-288-973. When we come back, we're going to talk about questions lingering after the Darvish announcement. We'll discuss that as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show, Settings Room Sports Station 97 through the Fan. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Stream your local NFL game live every Sunday all season long, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $250 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. We've had a pretty crazy 11 o'clock hour.
Yep. Saying the least.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. The Albert Pujols, Nick Hundley, Ruben Niebla radio silence on the managerial job for the Padres is so fascinating to me. So fascinating. Guy goes, not one bit worried about the Padres and what they're doing in their management search. I trust the organization and the process. I just find it interesting that they're the last team, basically the last team to announce a manager. I find it interesting. The only other team is the Rockies. So we'll see what happens here with the managerial search. I'm just telling you, the hidden name might be the case. We'll see what they announce. We're going to talk about this in the next segment. I just kind of want to tease it a little bit. The article in The Athletic about free agency and how much money these players are expected to get. And I thought Tim Britton did a good job. But when talking about a lot of these numbers that these players are getting or what they're expected to get, he put together his projections based on WAR, referring to Fangraph's version of WAR. This is what he did to come up with these numbers in terms of what he thinks these players are going to get. I used to look at F4 and samples from each. I used to look at F4 and samples from each of the last 5 seasons. Now I concentrate heavily on the most recent season and the combined production over the past 3 for starting pitchers and position players. For relievers, I look at 1 and 2-year samples. What happened 5 years ago isn't really relevant for such a volatile position. That's true. And I found more of a recency bias in contracts here than elsewhere. I've used the U.S. Bureau of Labor's inflation calculator to translate contracts into, quote, today's money. There remains a decent amount of subjective judgment that goes into creating the comparisons, and factors beyond F4 play into that. These are not necessarily deals I'd advocate the player sign or the team sign the player to. I'm trying to peg fair value. The values I'm proposing here are in present-day money. It's possible players here sign for amounts that look larger before deferrals bring them back down. Shohei Ohtani's deal with 2 winters ago. The ages listed for player are their ages on June 30th, 2026. Some players have, quote, spring projections, pulled from the extension projections Tim Britton did back in March for players coming from the MPB, the Nippon Professional Baseball, and Japan or Korea Baseball Organization, the KBO. I compare their performance in that league to that of other players who have come to Major League Baseball. In general, these projections feel a little high. That's in response to last year when Tim Britton and most other people who tried their hand at this was low on several big-name players. As a result, he's aiming to err more on the high side than in the past. That's kind of the teaser of our next segment. And let me tell you, he's saying this is on the higher side. If that's the case, what they have for Michael King, the Padres should sign him to immediately. Immediately. Because I think it'd be an affordable deal. I think a lot of national pundits think that the Michael King injury was more than just a fluke, and people are afraid of that when it comes to a starting pitcher. But if this is the case, I would sign Michael King to this deal immediately. What is it? We'll talk to you about it in the noon lunchtime hour after we go to Frank and hear about what's going on in the sports world with today's Sports Thread.
The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Stop sitting on the sidelines. QC Kinetics gets you back in the game without surgery. To learn how, visit QCkinetics.com.
All right, Frank, what do we got going on?
The first story here is quite an interesting one.
Number one.
So Tom Brady came out and said this publicly, and I'm surprised he's not in a home somewhere. The 6-time Super Bowl winning quarterback and current Fox Sports broadcaster said Tuesday in a statement from a company he is an investor in that his dog, Junie, is a clone of his late dog, Lua. Brady made the announcement on the same day that Colossal Biosciences, a venture capital-backed biotech startup, made an acquisition of another animal cloning firm, Vigen Pets and There it is. Colossal, which aims to, quote, fix extinction among other goals, is said to be valued at $10 billion, and this is its first major acquisition. Why would you announce to the public that your dog is a clone of another dog that you had?
What did you say the slogan of that company was?
It's not a slogan. It aims to, quote, fix extinction among other goals, and is said to be valued at $10 billion.
Did anybody watch, I don't know, Jurassic Park? When it comes to the extinction thing, like playing God, like that doesn't sound like scary to anybody.
Life.
Maybe you should probably not do that. Life finds a way.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. No, thank you. I don't like any of this. This is like, what are we doing? Okay. What's the other great phrase from Jurassic Park?
Just because you
didn't. You tried so hard to think whether or not you could. You didn't stop to think whether or not you should.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's kind of like where this is going. Fighting off extinction.
No, fix extinction.
Fix extinction. Yeah, I'm out on all of this. Knowing that Tom Brady's involved, it does not surprise me. Does not surprise me. What a weird story.
Tom Brady has bought into this company.
Of course he has.
He has also bought into Birmingham City Football Club. He has also bought into the Raiders and is a broadcaster for Fox Sports. Stop allowing this man to access money.
He's bored.
Because this is the stuff he's doing with
He's bored.
Number two.
LA Chargers left tackle Joe Alt will undergo season-ending surgery for the high right ankle injury he suffered in the team's win over the Tennessee Titans. Going again. The injury came in the second quarter of Sunday's game when Tennessee Titans defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day fell into Alt's right ankle. It is the second high ankle injury Alt has had this season. He exited in the first quarter of the team's Week 4 loss against the New York Giants on a medical cart and sat out the next 3 games because of said sprain. So Joe Alt officially done for the year, and I believe the Chargers did address this with a couple of offensive line acquisitions yesterday at the deadline, which we'll go over a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about what you missed in the NFL trade deadline in the next hour or so. That's tough news for the Chargers. They find the injuries happen all the time to that organization. That's why when they brought in Harbaugh and everybody's like, he's going to take him to the front. No, they're not. They get bad luck all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly getting bad luck. Losing Joe Alt, major problem for the Chargers.
Absolutely.
See if they can overcome it.
Number three.
Hockey is coming to Jerry World. The Dallas Stars will host the 2027 NHL Stadium Series game at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas on February 20th, 2027. The game will air on ABC. The announcement was made on ESPN's Monday Night Countdown ahead of the Cowboys' home loss against the Arizona Cardinals. No opponent was announced for the Stars, but fellow Western Conference contenders such as the Colorado Avalanche and Vegas Golden Knights could be in the mix. The Stars have appeared in only one NHL outdoors game, hosting the 2020 Winter Classic at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. The official attendance for that game against the Nashville Predators was 85,630, currently the third largest crowd for an NHL outdoor game. These were discussions that the Stars had about playing at AT&T Stadium before the Cotton Bowl was selected as a venue. So this has been in the works for a while. So it'd be interesting to see hockey in a football stadium.
Yeah, I mean
of that capacity,
an indoor stadium,
yes.
Right? Like the Stadium Series has always been outside.
Yes,
right. That's the whole deal. They've played in baseball stadiums. They have played in football stadiums. Just everything's outside. But they're playing in a
house in Michigan.
They're playing in a roof enclosed big stadium. That's what's interesting to me. Playing in a dome,
and
where it's not going to be freezing outside.
The memes have already started, by the way, because you know how Jerry Jones refuses to close those curtains, allows the sun in.
Oh, they're going to be blinded.
You're going to blind the opposing goalie for 2 periods?
It's true. That goes in that direction.
That's going to be fantastic.
He never closes the blinds.
Unbelievable.
Number 4.
I didn't even think about that.
Miami has asked the ACC for clarity on a number of officiating decisions that made its loss this past week to SMU, including a critical 15-yard penalty in the final moments of regulation. Miami lost the game 26-20. The Hurricanes, who were as high as number 2 in the AP Top 25 last month, have dropped 2 of their last 3 games and are now ranked at number 18. Hurricanes coach Mario Cristobal said that Miami has not gotten an answer from the ACC and it is unclear if any explanation will be coming. The Hurricanes' Marquise Lightfoot was called for an unnecessary roughness against SMU quarterback Kevin Jennings with about a minute left in the fourth quarter, giving the Mustangs 15 yards and a first down. Miami had called the timeout just before the 4th and 9 play was snapped. The Hurricanes argued to no avail that Lightfoot did not hear the whistle. I'm surprised that this report, this referee's inquiry has not been heard by Miami yet, or has not been given back to Miami.
Why it's taking so long?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the case when it comes to like a lot of officiating things. Like what Dabo Swinney said yesterday was hilarious.
Yes,
I'm kind of on board with that. We'll talk about that later on. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Miami, it's their first time leaving the state of Florida last week.
Didn't go well,
and they lost. Yeah, I wonder why. These teams, like it's these teams like set up their schedules. They never have to travel and they never have to play in hostile environments. And then they lose these games and then go like, we're so much better than this. This is just a fluke. It's like, I don't know. None of the schedules are equal in college football.
Mm-hmm.
Miami also like blaming the officials for that game. I don't know. I feel like whatever is the path of least resistance is what college football teams want to do. And then they can brag about how good they are. That's what every SEC school does. It's what every Big Ten school does. ACC, and then the schools that can't afford to do that because they're never going to get the benefit of the doubt. When you look at the college football playoff rankings, you know they have to go out there and be battle tested, and they drop games. Like, oh, see, look, they suck. I mean, it's just the narrative of college football and rewarding schools that were good in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is ridiculous.
I agree. And in Notre Dame's case, the 60s.
Number 5.
Feel good story to end this one out. Kelvin Sampson earned his 800th win of his 37-year coaching career with number 2 Houston's 75-57 victory over Lehigh on Monday night. Sampson, who was in his 12th season coaching at Houston, became the 17th NCAA Division I coach to reach 800 wins. He is the fourth active coach to reach that milestone, joining Rick Barnes, John Calipari, and Bill Self. So congratulations to Kelvin Sampson.
Big congrats, Kelvin Sampson. Houston, really good basketball team. Great program. This hour of Sports Talk has been brought to you by SD Collectibles. Get ready, sports and Pokemon collectors. SD Collectible Cards Show is back at Liberty Station with over 100 vendor tables, November 22nd, 23rd. Find sports cards, Pokemon memorabilia, and more. Visit SDCollectibles.com for info. That's SDCollectibles.com. New lunchtime hour when we come back.
San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime years.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
Make sure you listen at 1 o'clock today, in an hour, for us to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey Suite at a future Padres game with all the fan staff. Register your name at 97through-thefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. We're perfect 2 for 2, are we not?
We are a perfect 2 for 2, and the station as a whole is 5 for 6.
Winning Chris, man.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Their first one.
Man. Didn't want it bad enough.
Nope, did not.
7 in the chat changed his logo from the Falcons logo to the Padres logo.
I think he has done.
Nice. Good for you. After the performance of the Falcons this year. Let's get a 3 for 3 today. That'd be nice on the biggest fan. Be sure to listen at 1 o'clock. 833-288-973. 833-288-973. A couple of different ways we could go with this. Let's get to the free agency stuff here. Seems fair. And then at 12:15, we'll talk about the aftermath of the Yu Darvish deal, which we've been putting off for 2 hours now. So let's talk about free agency. Let's try to stay on track. So what Tim Britton did of The Athletic, he is trying to find out what players are going to get on the open market. Poor Falcons fans. Goes, welcome to the baseball offseason. Baseball is a business. You hear at various junctures of the season, but late July and winter are the 2 times that dynamic becomes explicit. Now, the time to talk about money. I love this time of year. I love talking about contracts. I love talking about the business side of sports. This is Tim Britton's 4th winter. He's projecting MLB free agent contracts for The Athletic. He's got a big Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of free agent and extension contracts in it, dating mostly to 2014, but with some landmark contracts from earlier, as well as players' performance in the years leading up to those contracts as defined by Fangraphs wins above replacement, whereas players get paid for home runs and saves in arbitration.
Nice.
Thank you. I've found F4 to be a solid, though not all-knowing, predictor of earnings in the open market.
If I may.
Yes. You've been waiting all day to use that.
No, I heard Excel spreadsheet and knowing me.
And having contracts since 2014?
Yes.
And finding that F4 to be solid, although not knowing, predictor of earnings on the open market? When I use WAR in this story, it's referring to Fangraphs' version of it. That's what F4 is. He plugs in impending free agents into the spreadsheet, finds players with similar production before they sign their deals, and work off those comps. Several points worth noting, as we mentioned in the last segment. Nerd. I used to look at F4 and samples from each of the last 5 seasons. Now I concentrate heavily on the most recent season and the combined production over the past 3 for starting pitchers and position players. For relievers, I look at 1 and 2 year samples. What happened 5 years ago isn't really relevant for such a volatile position. I found more of a recency bias in contracts here than elsewhere. He's used the U.S. Bureau of Labor Inflation Calculator to translate contracts into today's money. There remains a decent amount of subjective judgment that goes into creating the comparisons, and factors beyond F4 play into that. Yada, 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 yada. He lays out everything that he does to make these predictions, if you will. You follow me so far? You following Tim Britton, who you call a nerd so far?
Sure.
Okay. There's a lot. He doesn't just wing it and be like, hey, Kyle Tucker, 10 years, 350. He's got a rhyme and reason for everything. Seems fair enough. If you want to check out this article, it's on the Athletics page, and it is titled, not nerd, but what will Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, Dylan Cease, and other MLB free agents make this offseason?
It is entitled, I have way too much time on my hands.
You know what? These guys get paid to do this stuff. It's way too much time on their hands if they don't get paid to do this, Frank. Then it's like, all right, buddy, time to get a job. But this is his job, so good for him. What's that song by Doing This? The song Doing This by, oh my God, Luke Combs?
Sure.
If I wasn't doing this, I'd still be doing this. It's basically what Tim Britton would be doing, be writing up contracts for his spare time. It's weird when you do it in your spare time. It's work. It's cool when you do it for a job. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on some of the big names, but like here's like an example before we talk about the Padres. Would you say that Kyle Tucker's most prominent player on the market?
Yes.
He's the guy. 29 years old. He'll be 29 in June of 2026. That's where all these ages come from. Here's the excerpt on Kyle Tucker. He kind of explains everything about it. Okay. Tucker stands to cash in thanks to 2 deals signed in the last 12 months. Juan Soto's $765 million contract with the Mets. Thanks, Frank, for your team for overspending on Juan Soto to make everything more expensive. Thank you.
No problem.
And Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s 14-year, $500 million contract extension with the Blue Jays. Let's look at how Tucker ranks with those two and some other big-name free agents of late. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker, Vlad Guerrero Jr. are the comparisons for these players for the Kyle Tucker situation when they signed. Judge signed in 2023 at age 31, Ohtani in 2024 at age 29, Soto at age 26 in 2025. Kyle Tucker is signing this year in 2026 at age 29, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. Signed at age 27 in 2025. He talks about F-WAR1, F-WAR3, the amount of years total, and the 2025 AAV of what was expected. The Guerrero deal is especially helpful as it removes a comparable bat from this winter's market and sets a very sturdy baseline for valuing Tucker. Given how his production compares to Guerrero's at the time of the extension, Tucker should be able to argue that $35.7 million average annual value is his floor. But how close can Tucker get to the $40 million plus AAV of Soto, Judge, and Ohtani? And Guerrero's deal, you could see a kind of crude math. No, he's not Soto, but his production was about 2/3 of Soto's, and so the contract valued him at about 2/3 of Soto's deal. In Tucker's case, he's been about 75% as valuable as Soto in the 3 and 5 years leading up to free agency. 75% of Soto's $51 million AAV would be just over $38 million per season. Spread that through Tucker's age 40 season, the length of Soto and Guerrero each secured, and you get a 12-year, $460 million deal. Did that make sense to you? It makes sense to me. I get it. That's how he got to that point.
But I understand how he got to that point, but let's be honest here. Soto's not worth 2/3 of what Soto is making right now. So
no,
how are
he's
we
not.
gonna?
But he set the market. This is why it's important to not overpay for these guys. That's like it sets the market. It's like in real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
There's certain places that set the market, and when you overpay for said places, or you got flippers running in there and overpaying for things and then flipping the houses and doing a shoddy job, now all of a sudden a bunch of young people can't afford to buy houses. That's a different subject for a different day.
Mm-hmm.
Is that affecting me personally? It might.
I was going to say, yeah, that sounded like it hit a little too close to home.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to buy this $100,000 over ask, and then I'm going to do bad, shoddy work, and then I'm going to resell it. It's not all flippers, but there's a handful of them out there. All right, so that's how he got to that point, right? So it's like F-WAR1, I don't know what the difference between F-WAR1 and F-WAR3 was, but it's like Aaron Judge had 11.5 F-WAR for that. Ohtani had an 8.9, 8.1, 4.5. I don't understand the math on that particular deal. But 12 years, $460 million for Kyle Tucker. Yes or no? Not for the Padres, but in general.
No.
You're going to pay him $38.3 million a year? 12 years, $460? Do you think he gets that?
No.
I bet you somebody pays from that. What if the Dodgers went and paid him 12 years, $460, and then deferred half of it? That's not out of the realm of possibilities, by the way.
Why do you do these things? Why do you put that in the ether?
I'm just saying. If I'm not saying it, somebody else is.
Why do you put that out there? Why does anyone put that out there?
He goes on to explain all the different things for Bo Bichette, Framber Valdez. Like Framber Valdez, his spring projection was 116/4, which would be 29 a year. He now has it at 196/7, $28 million a year. Framber Valdez is 32. He's the number one pitching number one pitching arm, number one arm of the market, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
This is like the names that people like Padres fans want to see them go out there and spend.
You're not going to, but anyway.
But you can't. 7 years for a 32-year-old? How does that make any sense for any of these players? It doesn't. Okay, we'll fast forward and get to the portion where it affects the Padres. Cody Bellinger's 30 years old. Somebody's like, oh, Padres should go sign Cody Bellinger. And play what position exactly? First? Be the first baseman, their power hitter? You got $182 million laying around over 7 years? He's 30 years old. What are the last 2 to 3 years of Cody Bellinger's career going to look like where you're going to pay him $26 million?
He's not the league MVP anymore.
No. They compared Cody Bellinger to 2 years of Justin Upton, Brandon Nimmo, and Sin-Soo Choo. Justin Upton was like limping his way to the finish line.
Brandon Nimmo's not even a center fielder anymore. He's in left field.
He was when he signed.
He was when he signed. They moved him very quickly to left field.
Yeah, this is where you're running into. Brandon Nimmo had a higher WAR than Cody Bellinger.
Cody Bellinger is about to get paid because he spent a year in the bandbox that is known as Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only reason he is about to get paid, is because he hit 40 home runs again because he played in a ballpark that's fences are 200 feet away.
Let's talk about Dylan Cease. We've already said, don't want to see Dylan Cease back for the amount of money that he's expected to get.
Thanks for the memories. Good last game. Appreciate you. Bye.
So Tim Britton did this at the beginning of the year, and he's doing it now at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, he had Dylan Cease signing a 6-year, $196 million contract. That'd be $32.6 million a season.
No.
Absolutely not. He's 30 years old. Here's what they did. The back of the baseball card numbers for Cease were subpar in 2025. An ERA above 4.5 for the second time in 3 seasons and his fewest innings since 2021. Cease's peripherals painted a rosier picture. His fielding independent pitching was right in line with where it's been since his first 162-game season in 2021, and his strikeout rate was a career best at 33.3%. He compared Dylan Cease to John Lester, who signed in 2015 at age 31, and John Lackey, who signed in 2010 at age 31. John Lester F-WAR1 was a 5.6 compared to the 3.4 of Cease and a 3.3 of Lackey. F-WAR3 was 11.6. Dylan Cease was higher at 11.7. John Lackey's was down to 9.6. Lester got a 6-year, $155 deal, which would equate to a $35.9 million a year in 2025.
Was that his Boston deal or his Chicago deal?
Signing in 2015? That sounds like
that
a
would have been
Chicago deal.
Yeah.
And we knew what John Lester, got him a World Series.
Yeah.
And then was kind of there and then couldn't throw to first base. John Lackey got 5 years, $82 million, which in 2025's terms would equate to a $24.8 million a year. Here's what he had to say about that. The Lester comparison isn't crazy. Lester endured some prolonged rough stretches leading into his free agency, though he sequenced them better, entering the market off arguably his best season and 1 year removed from being a World Series hero. Cease won't get that number, at least not accounting for inflation, but he'll probably join a group of pitchers paid more for their stuff and peripherals than for ERA, a cohort headlined by Zach Wheeler. Cease offers an intriguing mix of potential thanks to 2 top 5 Cy Young finishers and durability. No one has made more starts than his 174 since 2020. In a market without a bona fide ace, that should work in his favor. Projection, $174 million over 6 years, $29 million a year. No, thank you.
No. God, no.
$30 million a year.
Is Cease eligible to be traded?
No, he's a free agent.
He's a unrestricted free agent.
$30 million a year for the next 6 years of Dylan Cease. At what point is that going to pay off for whatever team signs him? I mean, he has to be an all-star.
He has to be an ace.
He has to be their number one. He hasn't been anything close to that since becoming a Padre.
No,
thank you. That's what like these guys are getting on the market. I do want to talk about Alex Bregman, though. Alex Bregman was making $40 million last year. He had a 3-year, $40 million deal that he turned down. He also turned down a reported 6-year, $160 million deal with Detroit to sign a shorter-term deal in Boston, earning more than $32 million this past season and opting out to hit the market again ahead of his age 32 season. The bet on himself should pay off. That's what it says. They compare Alex Bregman to Chris Bryant, Matt Chapman, and Rafael Devers. I think those are fair comparisons.
yes.
Bryant got 30.2 a year in this day and age of money. Devers got 31.8 in this day and age of money. Matt Chapman got 25. Chapman got a 6-year deal. Bryant a 7-year deal. Devers a 10-year deal. They say the projection sits at 6 years, $171 million. He was expected to make $40 million next year, and he turns it down. And instead, he's going to get 3 extra years, but less money. He's going to get $28.5 million per season. Is it better to have the $40 million a year for 3 years, or is it better to have 28 per year for 6 years?
It depends on what you want. If he wants long-term security, like as far as I'm going to be playing for this franchise for 6, 7, 8 years, then yeah, him opting out was smart. But if he's going
he's going to get less money.
If he's going after the money, he's an idiot.
If he's going after the money, he's an idiot. He just lost a lot of money.
Even
though the overall number is more, the value is not more because of inflation. Money is worth more today than it is tomorrow, and 40 a year for 3 years is a lot better than, I'm sure if you calculate it, and if I spent the time to go in and calculate it, maybe it's a little bit better at 28.5 for the next 6 years. But the reality is, it's like, why would you turn down $40 million next year?
I mean, unless he really just hated Boston that much. It makes no other sense.
It could be possible.
It makes no sense. Unless he hated Boston that much. I don't and even that, like if I were a Boston Red Sox fan, I would be furious if they don't re-sign him, because you traded away your franchise, you aggravated and then traded away your franchise player for this guy, and he just up and leaves. And you get nothing in return. I would be fuming if I were a Boston fan if they don't re-sign him.
The interesting one here is, and I want to get to Michael King, but I also want to get to Pete Alonso for a couple of reasons. One,
it's going to drive me nuts.
It's going to drive you nuts into Mets fan. And 2, Tim Britton covers the Mets on a daily basis.
Yes.
So he's been doing this for a long time. We're going to talk about what Pete Alonso is expected to get and why I think the Padres should sign Michael King tomorrow if this is the number that it's expected to be in Michael King's pocket.
Pay the light bill, too.
Yeah. These guys could definitely afford that, for sure. We'll talk about it when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 to the Fan. Is our resident Falcons fan commenting in the chat right now?
I haven't seen Adam in a while.
No, 7.
Oh.
Guy's been a Birds fan the whole time. Says he's always had a Padres logo. Now all of a sudden the Falcons aren't doing back. Hey, he's like Homer Simpson in the bush. He's got the Padres there. Gonna go in the crowd, come back out. Hey, I'm not a Falcons fan anymore.
What's going on?
Come on,
boy?
I never had a Falcons logo as my deal. Nice. All right, let's talk about Pete Alonso for you. This affects a lot. I mean, people go like, we should bring in the polar bear. You sent it to me last night.
There were 2 different numbers, to be fair, but
So Tim Britton, who covers the Mets on a daily basis for The Athletic, he's the one that's putting out these projected contracts.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing it the last couple of years. He's got his spreadsheets. That makes him a what, Frank? Nerd. So here's what his thing said on Pete Alonso. Since I cover the Mets, I've been doing Alonso contract projections for years. Spring of 2022, he had Alonso making $160 million over 8 years.
God, you should have taken it then.
Yeah. 160 divided by 8. $20 million a year.
Should have taken it then.
Spring of 2023. Tim Britton's got him at 207 over 9. Probably even better.
Yeah.
Spring 2024, 190 over 7. Almost $30 million a year.
Yep.
Fall of 2024, 140 over 5, $28 million. It's gone up every single time.
Yeah, it has.
And of course, what did he sign for last winter? 2 years, 54, with an opt-out allowing him to hit the market again this winter.
Mm-hmm.
Like his former high school teammate, Tucker, Pete Alonso benefits from the massive deal Guerrero signed in the spring. Guerrero's extension revived a first base market that has been stagnant for a decade. However, Alonso will be 31 next year, hasn't delivered the kind of peak near MVP performance Guerrero had before his extension, and still sits a rung below the production level of other first basemen who signed big-time contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They made the comparison for Pete Alonso with Vlad Prince Fielder in 2012 when he was 28. Chris Davis, remember that great contract?
Mm-hmm.
In 2016 when he was 30 years old. Freddie Freeman in 2022, his Dodger contract. Albert Pujols in 2012, and Mark Teixeira in 2009. Pete Alonso's numbers aren't even close to those guys, at least on the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Teixeira got 8 180, Pujols 10 240, Freddie Freeman 6 162, Chris Davis 7 161, Fielder 9 214, Vlad Guerrero Jr. 14 over 500, 14 years, $500 million.
Mm-hmm.
You can make the case that Alonso is the high man in the next tier down rather than the low man in the top tier. Would you rather? I mean, I would compare him to Christian Walker, Mike Napoli, Carlos Santana, Josh Naylor instead.
No, I wouldn't.
You had to compare him to all these other players where he's not even close to their war?
I think Prince Fielder's an apt comparison because Prince Fielder was a power hitter only, didn't really hit much for average, and was a decent defensive player. That is what Pete Alonso is. Pete Alonso will never hit for average. He was doing that earlier this year, but then he stopped doing that for God only knows what reason. So I think the Prince Fielder comparison is an apt comparison.
He goes, that said, I do think WAR tends to underrate the value of a pure slugger with defensive limitations like Alonso, especially one as durable as he's been. I think he'll end up occupying the space between those tiers with a chance of getting $30 million per season on a shorter deal and an AAV just below it on a longer one, which is all to come around the same projection as last year. He's got him at 5 years, $140 million.
Steve Cohen, you got it. So you got it.
$28 million a year.
Cohen, you got to write that out. You have to write that.
That's the kind of money that, like, I told, like, when Padres fans like sign the polar bear, they ain't signing him for that.
Met fans will not be able to accept losing Jacob deGrom and Pete Alonso so close to each other.
When they have more money than anybody else in Major League Baseball.
Pete Alonso is the David Wright of this generation. He is a career Met. He is, as the fans see him, he is the guy who is going to be the next. He's going to be a Met for his career. That is the guy. If he cannot come to an agreement with that, that's going to hurt the fan base a lot. That is going to hurt the Met fan base a lot.
Let's get to Michael King. Free agency is about timing, as laid out by Tim Britton. Had King been a free agent last winter, coming off of a 7th-place Cy Young finish in his first full year as a starter, he would have made 9 figures. He pitched nearly as well in 2025, but only as half as often, missing time with shoulder and knee ailments. An interesting comp for Michael King is C.J. Wilson in 2012 at age 39. He signed a 5-year, $77.5 million deal.
At 39?
31, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, jeez.
31 in 2012. He had a 4.9 F-WAR and a 10.8 F-WAR 3. What is the difference? I got to figure out what the difference was on that. He would so CJ Wilson signed a 5-year, $77.5 million deal, $22.2 million a year per 2025 AAV. I would suspect the deal for King, this is what Tim Britton says, to be creatively structured, guaranteeing a good amount of money on the front end with an opt-out structure for the back end. Think a 3-year deal at $75 million with an opt-out after each season, 3 years, $75 million. If that is the case,
Same structure Bregman had, just not the money.
it's 25. That's a structure that is like an AJ Preller structured sign. 3 years, $75 million. That's 25 a year. That's $3 more million than the qualifying offer. You might as well offer him the qualifying offer and then maybe sign him later. Too bad you don't get a draft. You don't get your own draft pick. You end up signing him after the qualifying offer. 3 years, $75 million for Michael King with opt-outs. I would totally do that.
I would too. And again, as far as we know here in San Diego, this was the injury that kept him out the entirety of the year last year. Well, the vast majority of the year last year was a fluke injury. Slept wrong. Anyone could do that any given day. The knee inflammation after not pitching all season, I think is a little bit more of a concern, but I don't think it's a reason to shy away from 3 years, $25 million. I don't think it's that big a concern. I think the bigger concern was the fact he only pitched 1 inning in the postseason. I think that was the biggest concern.
Now knowing what you know about Yu Darvish,
King should have started that game.
They went with Yu Darvish with a bad elbow over Michael King.
That's infuriating.
It makes it even more infuriating. Michael King looked pretty good when he went into pitch in that playoff game. Michael King, you're telling me Michael King was less ready to go as a starter in that game than a guy that needed to have his elbow fixed during the offseason? Michael King's not getting surgery, at least not that we know of. Maybe he's waiting to sign to be able to perform surgery or whatever, but it makes it, with the news yesterday from Yu Darvish, it makes that entire game even more baffling in what they decided to do.
But again,
King wasn't going to start on a bad. Yu Darvish started on a bad elbow. What's the difference?
And again,
because he's an impending free agent. I mean,
you're not right, but you're not asking Michael King to go out and throw 7 innings.
How many? What did Darvish throw? An inning?
He threw. I don't think he made it through. Oh no, he made it through.
He made it through
the first.
He made it through the first, and then he didn't get tagged in the second. I don't even think he got an out in the second. Michael King did that later in the game. What does it matter? They probably pitched the same amount. They should have just had King started. You go 2 innings. I mean, if you're only going to get an inning out of a guy in Yu Darvish whose elbow needed to get repaired during the offseason, why didn't they start Michael King? It asks more questions.
Looking at the box score from Game 3, Yu Darvish went an inning plus, 4 hits, 2 runs.
So he had an inning in
a
third?
Strikeout. No, an inning plus. It's 1 inning on his
he went 1 inning.
Michael King, 1 inning and hit 3 punchies, no walks, and was taken out for Wandy Peralta.
Right. Max is saying King isn't going to risk his money to win a World Series. Basically is what you're saying. So that means the guy's uncompetitive and doesn't want to play. I mean, it means he's Josh Hader. I mean, if we're at a point now where you cannot play players that are free and pending free agents, then what are we even doing? Seriously, what are we even doing?
Well, yeah, exactly. What's the point?
What's the point?
What's the point of having him on the roster?
Yeah, at that point in time, like all free agents should just get cut before the playoffs. Like, well, I can't use this guy because he's got a contract he's got to get during the offseason. It makes no sense. And the more the information with Yu Darvish makes it even less sense now. 3 years, $75 million. I'd sign up for that right now. That's worth the price of admission.
And again,
this is what it's going to cost to get a starting pitcher on your team anyway.
And again, the point was that you're not asking King to go 7 innings. You're asking him to go 3, maybe 4. The first sign of trouble, he's done. It's not a regular season start.
I would not do the same as a player.
No, I want the ring, bud.
I want to win. I'm a competitive person. I want to win everything.
I
am so overly competitive that people call me a bleep when I go out there and play softball because I want to win.
I mean, of course, I want the bag, but
they're all getting paid so much money. It doesn't even matter.
The bag doesn't matter compared to the ring.
It doesn't even matter.
I can't buy the ring.
And he still pitched the same amount as Darvish did anyway. So that the argument doesn't even make any sense. I just, the Scherzer thing was 115 is what they said in this article. I would sign Michael King to a 3-year, $75 million deal with opt-outs. I think it's fine.
I would up it. I would up it to 4 and 100.
With
maybe
opt-outs?
5 and 125 with, I would say, an opt-out after year 2 and year 4. Maybe an opt-out after year 3 if it's a 5-year.
I could do that. This is the going rate for pitching. Like, if the Padres can't afford this, they really can't afford to add to their roster anymore. That's like the whole thing about the cheap deal, right? The going rate for players continues to go up. And if they've already spent the money on other players, I don't see their payroll ever going up. But if everything's going up, that means the revenues are going up. They should be able to spend more money to keep pace. Like they're not going to be able to not go over $200 million. What needs to change is like the luxury tax thresholds is what needs to change, or the fact that they need to put in a salary cap. But the reality is, like, the Padres have to spend money to keep up with everybody else. 3 years, $75 million? I'd do that. Michael King.
I would, for me, I would lock him up even longer than that. I would go 5, 125. It's the same. It's the same $25 million a year, just longer.
The Ryan O'Hearn one is interesting, and we got to take a break. You compare this Ryan O'Hearn to Anthony Rizzo, 2022 Rizzo and 2023 Rizzo. This projection has him making way more money. 2 years, $36 million. 2 years, $36 million. I don't know if I'm paying Ryan O'Hearn $18 a year. Are you paying him $18 a year? I'm not paying him $18 a year. Absolutely not. No, I'm not. He's not going to have the same production in San Diego as he did in Baltimore, at least from a power number standpoint. It's going to be better than Luis Ariz, but $18 million a year for Ryan O'Hearn? Thanks, buddy, but no thanks.
If King accepts the qualifying offer, then
he's on your team for $22 million.
Yeah, then you
got him on a 1-year deal for $22 million.
Deal with this next year, then.
Yeah, you got to do this again. Maybe he does. Maybe you get him to accept the qualifying offer. I doubt it. Nobody accepts qualifying offers.
R. Barker asking the real questions here. Can Ryan O'Hearn bunt?
I don't know. We haven't seen him do it too much. Clay, you put in the opt-outs to make it more enticing for paying him less money. That's why you do the opt-outs. I mean, if you want a contract with no opt-outs, you're going to have to pay more. And if you can't afford to pay more, you have to sweeten the deal somehow. Like, I don't understand. Like, a lot of people, like the old guard doesn't understand that with some of these contracts that are handed out. Which
is fair because it's a newer thing.
You have to get creative to sign the guys that you want to sign. Like, everybody bitch, moan, and complain about the Xander Bogaerts contract, right? You gave him too many years. Why would you pay him till he's 40 years old? He was going to go somewhere else and get more money per year. They're trying to get the AAV down. So you're still paying them the same amount of money, and you have to pay a little bit more in California because of taxes. And so you have to pay him. You're still paying him the $240 million, whatever it is. But instead of it being spread over 6 years, where it dings you big for the AAV when you signed him, you pay him over 8 years. And so now all of a sudden it's spread it thinner so you can control your AAV.
Matt, we're not saying give Ryan O'Hearn a qualifying offer. He would accept it. They wouldn't give him a qualifying offer anyway. The qualifying offer we're saying with Michael King, not with O'Hearn.
The Padres can't afford to just give out traditional contracts. They have to get creatives. That's why you do opt-outs. That's why you do, you haven't seen a lot of deferred money because you got to convince a player to get paid less and get paid what's worth less because money's more valuable now than it is in the future. But this is like what you have to do to get these contracts to work. That's why you gave Manny Machado an opt-out after year 5. This is how you get these players to play for you. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to compete. I think the Padres done a great job being creative as much as they can to try to get some of these players. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. They love the business side of baseball. We'll discuss more about this when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are about 15 minutes away from announcing our biggest fan in the 1 o'clock hour. This holiday season, too many San Diegans will go hungry. Join 97 through the fan and support the San Diego Food Bank. Donate food directly online through our Odyssey San Diego Fund, where every donation helps feed local families. Go to 97throughthefantasy.com and give today. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Talk a lot about these contracts. Computer just doesn't want to cooperate. All right. Here's what we were talking about during the break. And Clay kind of sparked it. And I think people need to understand a little bit with every organization has to get creative in ways to get good players on their team. And I think AJ Preller has done a great job of doing that as the general manager of the San Diego Padres. I use like Xander Bogaerts as an example. Okay. We're not saying that the Padres didn't overpay for Xander Bogaerts. But what I'm saying is you can use whatever name you want. That is the type of contract you have to hand out in order to get Xander Bogaerts or one of those players to sign in San Diego. You either want those players or you don't. Right? Everybody wants good players, right, Frank? Everybody wants good players.
Yeah, you would. Well, almost everyone.
Except for the Pirates.
There are the Pirates
and the A's.
Rockies of the world. Well, no, the A's too, because now they have a new stadium they need to
fill. Oh, yeah, they got to, yeah, exactly.
Las Vegas, so they do now.
In order for the Padres and their organization to get good players, and at the time, like Max Wells puts in the chat, all these names that, the contracts didn't work out. At the time, everybody was fired up to get those players on their team. The Padres can't pay market value for a lot of these players. They have to sweeten the pot. They have to make the deal more enticing, especially on the early on days, to try to get a guy like Manny Machado to play for their team. And how do you do that? You have to sweeten the deal with certain things. So Manny Machado got the opt-out in the middle of his 10-year, $300 million contract, which he used, and then he got even more money and a longer deal. That's what you needed to do to get Manny Machado to be a San Diego Padre. It wasn't like, hey, look, we're going to have brown and gold uniforms coming up, and I know we've never proven it before, but I'm telling you right now, we're going to be good. We just need to get you to be on board. That's how you get a guy like Manny Machado on the team. You might have to overpay. Now, the White Sox are willing to pay X, Y, Z, but as you know, it for the player, there's a number for each team he is willing to get in order to play for certain teams. And some organizations have to overpay to get players on their team. I go back to the Bogaerts contract. Bogaerts got a contract in which they were going to pay, the Padres are going to pay him until he's 40-something years old, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when they signed that contract, it was, all right, 11 years, $280 million. They're going to pay him until he's 40-something years old. That seems like a lot. And, people now would be like, well, that's not worth it for a guy like Xander. The question is, it's not Xander Bogaerts. It's good players. Do you want a good player on your team or not? That's what you have to do to get a good player on your team. That's what you have to do to get a good player on your team. You have to overpay for a guy like Xander, and if you're going to give him $280 million, that's probably the number he wanted. In order to make it worthwhile on an AAV, you take that $280 million and you spread it out over more years than probably you wanted to give him. And your risk is he's going to, in his prime years, get us a World Series, and then it doesn't really matter that we're paying him $25 million when he's 40-something years old. That is what the Padres had to do to get a guy like Xander Bogaerts. And this is the case for a lot of these players. You want to get a Yu Darvish on your team. I mean, this is what you have to do to get a Yu Darvish on your team. Now, the Yu Darvish thing was a little different. And here's the other thing, too. I think Peter Seidler was giving away. I mean, some of the contracts that some of these guys have gotten were just like paying Jake Cronenworth was a gigantic waste of time. It didn't make any sense when it happened. Giving Yu Darvish a contract extension didn't make a lot of sense when it happened. Those are the two, to me, that are the biggest red flags. The Xander Bogaerts contract wasn't. Signing like a shortstop didn't make a whole lot of sense. But if you're going to go get a good player, which is what you want, this is what you have to do to get good players on the Padres. That's not what everybody else has to do. That's not what everybody else has to do. I bet you in this year's offseason, if the money is coming down to two organizations and everything's the same, and it's the Dodgers for somebody else, that player is going to pick the Dodgers. They're going to do it because it's going to be a team loaded with talent that can win a World Series. And so what do you do if you're a team like anybody else in Major League Baseball? All of a sudden now you have to overpay for said player. But that's what you have to do to get these players. This is why you have opt-outs in contracts. This is why you have no trade clauses. You have to sweeten the deal somehow in order to make your offer competitive. You look at all these other contracts that certain teams hand out, and you're like, oh, man, the Padres could have done that. You don't know that. Maybe they would have had to pay more. You have to make the deal enticing enough and attractive enough to get the player to sign with San Diego. And I think sometimes us as fans are like, why wouldn't anybody want to play here? We're the Padres. This is great. They have their own reasons for things. You want good players, you're going to have to put in this is the type of deal that you have to do in order to make the roster work, in order to make the money work, and in order to make your offer attractive for players in free agency. I mean, I've argued this so many times. This is what you need to do. You want a player like Xander Bogaerts, you're going to have to give him $280 million over 11 years. That's what makes it work, not only for the team, but also for Xander Bogaerts to be like, okay, cool, that's enough money for me to leave Boston. That's what it is. So that's one way to do it. Now, the other thing, too, is somebody saying, like, Padres need to draft and develop play better. They've drafted and developed. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's, like, how many times did you watch a playoff game and you're like, that's a Padres farmhand, that's a Padres farmhand, that's a Padres farmhand, that's a Padres farmhand. I would even argue that the Padres have done a better job drafting and developing than the Dodgers. How many times have the Dodgers traded away all these farm pieces that have turned into studs? Does anybody remember any player in the Mookie Betts deal? Does anybody? Frank, do you have any idea who was in the Mookie Betts deal? What was the big get that the Red Sox got in the Mookie Betts deal?
Somebody who's never been in my kitchen.
True. You don't remember.
That was
right?
A loud silence.
Jeter Downs. How's he doing for the Red Sox? I would argue the Padres have done a good job drafting and developing. But you know what? Those don't fill the seats, do they? Those don't fill the seats, do they? The young players. Maybe for the diehards, but they don't fill the seats. 833-288-973. 833-288-973. Final hour. Juan spurred a problem in the chat. We'll take care of Juan here in a second. But it's that time, Frank. Oh, it's that time.
What time is that?
It's 1 o'clock. You know what that means.
Nap time.
When have you ever taken a nap at 1 o'clock Monday through Friday during this show? Or do you just do that all the time? We just don't even notice.
Let a man dream, all right?
And live in the 1 o'clock hour, Frank is taking a nap. Back to you. It's time for the biggest fan.
It is time for the biggest fan, yes.
Biggest fan. We're 2 for 2.
We are 2
Trying
for
to make
2.
it 3 for 3. All right. Today's biggest fan, Katrina Faisal. Faisal? F-A-E-S-S-E-L. Katrina Faisal in San Diego. Katrina Faisal in San Diego. You have 10 minutes to call in to be qualified for today's biggest fan contest. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Has Frank hit the button yet? And it's 10 minutes now. Starts now. Katrina, Facehill in San Diego. You have 10 minutes to call in to be qualified for the biggest fan contest. If this sounds interesting to you, remember that you have an opportunity to qualify for a night in our Odyssey Suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. If you're interested in this, you can register your name at 97thefan.com/biggest-fan in order to potentially have your name called. Katrina Facehill, you are today's biggest fan. Call in. Do it now. You got 10 minutes. We want to keep the streak alive, Katrina. Get after it. Anyway, there's that. Let me know if they call in. No!
Hold on.
Might have gotten it already. What is Rod? Rod like knows everybody that's on this thing. He's running a biggest fan underground right now, it seems like. All right, we got her called in. Heck yeah. 3 for 3. 3 for 3 on the Braden Surprenant show. How about that, Frank? Round of applause.
3 for 3 on the Braden Surprenant show. Ben and Woods are 3 for 3. Gwen and Chris, they do be slacking.
What are they, 1 for 2?
Yeah, 1 for 2.
You know what? That's a Hall of Fame batting average still. Hitting 500, man. It's not bad. Rod, just the guy that was the biggest fan last year, is just on it. Just getting people to call in.
Rod is the 97.3 phone book, apparently.
Yeah.
He's got everybody's phone number in here.
That's right, Elizabeth. Let's keep it rolling. Keep it going. The more qualifiers, the better.
Yes.
It's
more
be
fun
great
for us, too.
It's going to be great. Want to wish Go Aztecs a safe recovery and a safe procedure tomorrow. Look forward to having you tuned in with us again. Big Aztec win last night. We're going to talk about that later on. We talk about the contracts and stuff like that. We'll talk about this more as the offseason progresses. I just like for anybody that's ever been in the process, and I'm in the process of trying to buy a place to live, which is almost impossible in California. It's so hard. But in the process, you have all of these competitors, right? And the people that are selling the house. That is your player you're trying to woo, right? And it's how bad do you want that player on your team when you have all of these competitive offers and everybody throws in something different. We'll expedite the process. We'll try to close escrow in less than 30 days. We will have our realtor waive commission. I mean, there's all these different things in order to get the house. And the reality is, like, this is the conversation you have. This is why, like, if you want said player, how much are you willing to spend to get said player? There's other offers that are out there. Sometimes you throw an opt-out. Sometimes you pay a little bit more. Maybe you get them incentives in the contract. Other things that they might like, club options, player options, all of these things. Now, do you waive the commission to potentially, maybe somebody's offering more money because they really want the house. This is what it's going to take to get the house. But your party decides to waive the commission from the real estate agent because you made a deal with the real estate agent, whatever. So now all of a sudden the person selling the house is getting more money from your deal than they actually are from the one that offered them more money. I mean, these are all the things that go into some of the contracts for Major League Baseball. It's all the same. Just the difference is getting this player to play for your team. Sometimes the Padres have to overpay. That's what it takes to get some of these players. And for everybody that says like the whole drafting and developing thing, the Padres have done a good job drafting. I think they've done a decent job developing. The problem is those players are just not on the Padres because they're shipping them off for other major league talent. I mean, and I go back to this all the time. I would still rather have the Padres be that team than be the team that is the Tampa Bay Rays. Do you want it to be the Rays? I don't want it to be the Rays. Sure, the Rays will win every once in a while, but they'll never win a World Series. They don't spend in the top 15 in Major League Baseball. Teams that win the World Series since 2003 have spent in the top half of payroll every single time. And so when you look at said players that the Padres have, you want good players? This is the cost of doing business to get good players. I already saw what this team was like and this organization was like before A.J. Preller, before this ownership came in. And that was the whole, we're going to draft and develop, and we're going to have good pitching and defense. And you know what happens when you're the drafting and developing team? You fall in love with the players for 2 years, and guess what happens to them, Frank? They get shipped off to other teams because you can't afford to keep them there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a handful of organizations that could do both things. They have the resources to do both. Do you think it's free to draft and develop players, Frank? Is it free?
No.
No, it's not free. It costs money to do that. It takes resources to do that. Just because you're spending less money on your AAV and your contracts and everything like that with your major league team, you have to have money. New York Mike, look up the Royals. Look up the Royals' money in 2015. We've talked about it. They were a top 10 payroll in 2015 when they won the World Series. Coincidence? I don't think so. It costs money to do that. The Padres have a finite amount of resources. Everybody's got a finite amount of resources. That's a fact. I like using these numbers all the time because it's simple. Follow me so far, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the Padres have $500 million to spend on everything in their organization.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to factor it in the sense of developing, what they need for development, and what they need for major league roster. They have $500 million to work with. Let's say they take the $500 million, and right now it seems like they're taking the $500 million and they're investing like 70% of it into their Major League Baseball team and about 30% of it into their minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're only investing 30% in your minor leagues and you're investing 70% in the Major League team, Major League club's going to have a lot of big players, and guess what's going to lack? The minor leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Los Angeles Dodgers, and again, I hate using this comparison because it upsets people because they get distracted by the whole Padres-Dodgers thing, and then all of a sudden Dodgers fans come out of nowhere and go like, you're complaining about this. Everybody pays the same. No, you're dumb. Shut up. The Dodgers have $1 billion.
No, you're dumb. Shut up.
Let's say they have $1 billion because they have double what the Padres have, and not just the Padres, but everybody else. And you know it's the truth because of Forbes' revenue that they had. So if the Dodgers have $1 million, $1 billion to spend on both development and Major League Baseball, they could even split it evenly. If they split it evenly, and they have $500 million into their Major League team and $500 million in their development, the Dodgers are going to be able to develop players a lot better because of the resources they have spent in the developing. Because say what you want. Let's just say the Padres did 50-50. They're spending half of their money in developing players and half of their money in their Major League roster. That's $250 on the Major League roster, $1 million, $250 million in their development. The Dodgers go 50-50. Look, you're equaling the Dodgers in terms of percentage, but the Dodgers have $500 million into drafting and developing and $500 million in their payroll. Is that equal, Frank? If the Dodgers are spending $500 million on payroll and you're spending $250 million, and then the Dodgers are spending $500 million in their drafting and developing, and you're paying $250, is that equal? You're paying 50-50?
No.
No, it's not equal. And so what the Padres do is they take more of that money that they would use to draft and develop, and they pump it in their Major League roster. So they got to take money away from there. So instead of it being $250, maybe they take an additional $50 million and pump it into the Major League roster. Now it's $300, $200. The Dodgers don't have to do that. They have the same amount. They go 50-50. They're still outspending you $500 million to $200 million in the drafting and developing. It's so easy to say like, oh, this is why you got to develop players. That's fine. But to say that to throw it around like it doesn't cost Money. Like, it doesn't cost a ton of money to get the best of the best to develop your talent. Not everybody can develop talent. Not that you don't have all those scouts. There's not like all these scouts growing on trees. You could be able to get as much as you can out of some of these scouts and do a great job, but it's going to cost you money. And it's going to cost you even more money to keep those guys around when they do a good job and then all of a sudden get plucked by the big teams that can overpay to have those scouts part of their deal. If you want to get major league talent, the Padres have to trade for it. And how they do that is trading good prospects to get those players back. It is all about money. It's a money issue. I don't know how you couldn't see how it's a money issue. You draft and develop those players and they come through the organization. Guess what? When they're good, they're going to have to get paid money if you decide to keep them. But instead, I'd rather trade the prospects away because you never know what's going to happen with them anyway, and use them to try to make your major league team as good as possible. There's problems to it. You're seeing that right now with the Padres. Everybody has different problems to deal with. For an organization like the Padres that have big names that sell tickets, it costs you a lot of money, and it costs you prospect capital to keep that machine running. But this is how the Padres are competitive. This is how they stay competitive in Major League Baseball. There's multiple ways to do it. The Rays don't want to play that game. They want to play the game of, we're going to draft these guys, we're going to develop them, they're going to be on our team, and as soon as they're about to hit their full potential, we're going to ship them off to other teams. And you know what, Frank? How many fans of ours would be bitching about that too?
Every one of them.
Every one of them would be bitching and moaning. I can't believe we can't keep this guy. Why can't we keep this guy? I'm telling you. This is how you stay competitive if you're the San Diego Padres.
Mike in the chat, I just saw it. No GM in baseball other than AJ trades away his entire farm system every season to get back a guy we will only have for a season or two.
Orioles don't do that. How'd that work out for the Orioles?
Right, but also you kind of made our point here is that he is good at drafting and developing because he can afford to do that every single year.
How does he get these players with not having the number 1 through 5 farm system every single year? How does he do it?
Exactly.
They just swindle everybody? How does he do it? I mean, let's go back and start looking at the prospects that he's traded away. And they go like, this guy turned into a stud. Like, I can't believe we got rid of this guy. You know what David Bednar was in the Padres organization when they traded him away? All-star closer. You know where he was when he was traded? You know what number in the top 30?
27.
He was 30.
Oh, God.
He was 30. Take all that evaluation for what it's worth. But again, look at I'm telling you, the minor league system, the whole minor league conversation is all smoke and mirrors, and most of it's BS.
What do you get in return for those prospects? You get a chance to win the World Series.
You get really good major league players. You get guys like, I don't know, Mason Miller. You guys like Mason Miller? I think most Padres like Mason Miller. It costs to get Mason Miller. Would you rather be the A's who decided to part ways with Mason Miller for another future prospect that you don't even know if it's going to pan out? I would imagine Leo DeVries is going to pan out. There's no guarantee. You're taking a risk. These teams are all taking massive risks.
You got Jason Adam. You got Dylan Cease.
You got Luis Ariz for the 2 years.
He
helped you out.
You got Juan freaking Soto.
You got Juan Soto. I mean, you are loading up your team with players that are going to help you win. You know what you got out of it? Making the playoffs 4 out of the last 6 years when your organization had only done it 5 in their first 50 years of existence. That's what you got out of it. If you think... Oh, man. Soccer problems. You will have Mason Miller until the year 2030, Mike. Mason Miller is under contract until 2030. Take that for what it's worth. You're getting major league talent.
And that's not necessary.
It's not.
Apologize. Take that back. Apologize.
Just stirring the pot now. Stirring the pot. It doesn't. All these teams are taking major risks that don't have a TV contract of $500 million a year, whatever the heck it is. That's the risk you take. I would rather, again, you're going to have to take a risk. You either are the Rays and you have a brand new team every 3 years and you watch your guys develop and play and win World Series for other teams, or you're a team like the Padres that has big name guys and they're fun during that. This Padres team is way more fun to watch than it was when I was a kid. I'm going to tell you that right now. My interest level in the Padres is through the roof as a 30-year-old. As a teenager, I could give a bleep about the Padres. I really could. It was like, okay, cool. Here's a bunch of no-name guys again that they're going to try to sell us. They're going to be great players that never turn into anything, and then we're out of the playoffs by June. This team is way more fun to watch.
You must have young players on your roster to contribute that don't cost much money. Correct. There's a difference between having a Jackson Merrill on the roster and having an entire team of Jackson Merrills like Baltimore and Tampa, because they're all going to be gone, and you're going to have to trade all of them away. You have a finite window with them, and who's to say that team of Jackson Merrills doesn't just flop? It doesn't work. Saw how bad Baltimore was this year with all of their minor league talent that they brought up. It doesn't guarantee you anything. Yes, it is important. You do need to have those players on there. You do need to have that homegrown talent, those homegrown players. But there's a difference between having them as complementary pieces to your stars and having them as your team. The Marlins got lucky twice doing that. Marlins got lucky. Where have they been since 2003?
I'm going to tell you right now, Jackson still is cheap. He's getting $2 million next year. He costs you $15 million to your AAV. The longer he played on rookie numbers, the less likely you were going to keep Jackson Merrill. You were almost having to root against him in order to keep him. So would you rather have Jackson Merrill's developed as a Padre, comes up, has a great rookie year, and then not have him in 5 years? So when he turns 25, 26 years old, all of a sudden he's playing for another team because you can't afford him anymore? Or would you rather have him like under contract, let's get this guy so he doesn't leave? Do you want Jackson Merrill on the team or do you not?
By the time Jackson Merrill's contract comes up, that is going to be a steal of a contract.
Absolutely. So again, it goes back to the question.
It's the Braves with Acuna.
Correct. That's how you, again, this is how you get these guys on your team. Let me ask you this. Do you want Jackson Merrill on your team? Yes or no? Answer that question for me. People in the chat, do you want Jackson Merrill on the Padres? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, that is how you keep him on the team. You're not going to be able to keep all these guys for like the limits of, oh, well, we can have him keep as a rookie and on the rookie contract for 6 years, and then we're going to pay for him. Brother, you know how much his contract's going to cost when he's 26 years old and he's about to enter his prime years after putting up the numbers that he put up? You'd have to overpay for him to keep him on the team. Or you take the risk. Again, there's risk involved. This is what teams that don't make unlimited amount of money have to do in order to keep the players. This is why I continue to argue with all the dumb people about how anybody can do what the Dodgers do. No, they can't. They can't do that. You know what the Dodgers could do that nobody's talking about? They can give all this money to Tanner Scott, have him be a gigantic flaming pile of you-know-what, and just be like, all right, doesn't matter. That didn't just cripple our entire organization. If the Padres did what the Dodgers did and signed Tanner Scott to the deal that they did, guess what? That would be crippling. That would be crippling.
Overpay Jackson Merrill, but not Xander. Xander Bogaerts was the best player you had in the last 3 months of the year.
He was. And guess what? In order for him to leave Boston, a place that he loved, guess what you had to do? You had to pay him a ton of money.
Miller will be here for the duration of his contract. Stop it.
He'll be traded off. It's just the negativity from Padres fans that don't understand how business works.
If he is traded off, it will be in the last year of the deal. That's if he's traded. So you have 3 years of, you have 4 more years of Mason Miller. 4.5.
all of these deals that Padres fans in hindsight dislike because it doesn't work out right now. These are all the deals that you would these are the deals that have to be made in order to get these players. They all come with risk. There's no for sure foregone deal that's going to happen. There is none. Have these all worked out? No, but that's the risk you take. Like when you look at this particular this near free agents, how many of you want Michael King on the team? I bet you a lot of people want Michael King on the team next year. In order to do that, you're going to have to give him a contract of XYZ. And when Michael King, next year after you sign him, gets hurt again, guess what everybody's going to say? I can't believe he gave this guy so much money. Stop thinking in hindsight and understand that you are taking risk when you are signing these players. It's not always going to work out. And if you want Michael King, you know what's going to get him an opportunity to be a Padre, to compete with all the other organizations that can write these checks? Giving him opt-outs. And then you know what the risk you take is, Frank? He balls out, and then he opts out, and then you can't afford him anymore. But you know what? That's what it takes to get this guy. That's basically the entire message I have for this entire free agency thing. Because everybody goes like, just sign Pete Alonso. Well, you know what? We saw what Pete Alonso is expected to get. And to be honest with you, in order for him to leave a place that he already likes, maybe you have to, I don't know, overspend for a guy like him. And then in 2 years, when he doesn't lead up to the production that he had when he was, I don't know, a 28-year-old, that's the risk that you took in order to do it. The good teams in Major League Baseball that were able to do these things can just sit there and go like, all right, this didn't work, but I can pay for it to go away. The Padres and all the other small market teams, and the Padres are still a small market team, can't just write a check to have it go away. That's what it is. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I'm glad Richard and Padilla brought it up. We need to talk about some other things. That is correct. We'll recap what happened in the NFL trade deadline. When we come back, we'll also talk college football. College football playoff rankings are out as we transition here on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. I obviously got to clarify some things here, Frank. All guests on Night 7 The Fan do join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. This is what some people in the chat are not understanding what I'm saying. In an ideal world, being able to spend money on free agents and top echelon players and being able to draft and develop your own players, that is what a perfect world is. Frank, let me ask you, how many teams are able to do that because they have the resources to do both? I guess they missed that part of the conversation where I said being able to do both.
It's not a fluke that the teams with a good minor league system are consistently near the bottom of the league in payroll and are at the bottom of their divisions.
Correct. It's not an extreme. This is the reality of the situation. If the Padres did what Mike in the chat is saying, they would be mediocre at both because they don't have the funds to be elite at one thing or to be elite at both things. There's only a handful of teams that are able to be elite at both things. They usually have, I don't know, big TV contracts. They have the money to do both. They're in big markets. They have big markets with big TV contracts with all of these people that watch their product. The Padres are pigeonholed in a corner of a market that doesn't have massive Fortune 500 companies or all this money to spend on advertisement on their broadcasts, and they don't get the same type of revenue. They're doing what they can with what they have. And so what the Padres do, let's say they do what Mike says they should do, which is, and again, in an ideal world, I agree, they should be doing that. But guess what they don't have? They don't have the resources to be elite at both things. So what the Padres decide to do is be elite at one thing, or at least put all their money on the major league side, which I think is the right play. They could be the Rays and put all their money in the prospects like they used to do, or they could do on the major league side and, I don't know, sell out Petco Park on a daily basis. The good teams that are doing it are not smarter than the Padres. They have the ability to do it. And that's my entire point about the whole, well, everybody could do what the Dodgers are doing. They're just so much smarter than everybody else. They're just so much smarter than everybody else. No, they're not. They're not much smarter than everybody else. They have the ability to do both things. If the Padres were able to do both things, you don't think they would be doing it? What do you think? They're like, you know what? Yeah, that's a great idea. We should probably develop our own players, Frank.
Son of a gun.
Son of a gun.
Who would have thought?
And every time I go back and I think about, go back and find it. The article written by Kyle Glazier. And you know what? Maybe we should put Kyle Glazier on the show. Maybe we should ask him again. In 2020, Kyle Glazier put out an article about everything the Dodgers do. And you listen to what they do to develop their players and you go, that sounds very expensive. And guess what? It is very expensive. And they do things better than everybody else in the minor leagues because they can. Because they have the money to do it. So yes, the Padres do spend a lot of money on their major league team, but they don't have the money to develop the players that they need and put the team together with the big stars that sells tickets. You understand what I'm saying?
It comes down to, do you want to be a prospect hub or do you want to be a free agent vulture? And right now, the Padres have decided that they want to be a free agent vulture and try to pick up as many good players as they can. And as the meme goes, bleep them prospects.
Here's the other thing with the TV contract. Like Max says, maybe the Padres should get on the TV deal situation, focus less on concerts and City Connect unis. What? Let's talk about TV contracts for a second. Do you know how TV contracts work, Frank? Do we understand this, right? We work in the business.
There needs to be a television company that wants to pick you up for the amount of money that you want.
TV companies don't just hash out tons of money for games just to hash out tons of money for games. They don't even care how good the team is. How do TV companies make money, Frank?
Advertising.
Advertising. How do you sell advertising?
Good products.
Yes, but how do you get the money for the advertising? What do you get? What do you tell the advertisers to give you the big money? This is why you should pay us a lot of money. Ratings.
Yeah.
You need people to watch your product. And guess what? We don't have that many fans out there in Padres land. We just don't. We're in a market that is surrounded by a lot of different things. And so what company in town, let's just talk about the companies in town, because guess what? Most of the TV deals that these organizations have Matlick, New York, SNY, and the Yes Network. Those are based in New York.
And they're owned by the ball clubs.
They're owned by the ball clubs that can sell the advertising on their product for X amount of dollars to cover the expenses of the money that they have for the TV deal. Sportsnet LA can pay $1 billion because they're going to make billions of dollars on all the people that watch the Dodger games because they can sell tons of advertising because they know people are going to watch it. The Padres don't have a TV contract right now because they're lazy and Eric Ripper's not trying. They don't have a TV contract right now because they're trying to find something that's going to pay them, that's going to be worth their while in order to fund a lot of the things that they need. Do you think KUSI is dishing out hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to broadcast the Padres? That would cripple KUSI. That would cripple Fox 5. That would cripple NBC 7. That would cripple CBS. That's why you only get a couple on Saturdays. They don't have that. And here's the other thing that San Diego does not have. You watch, right? You watch the Padre games, Frank. How many times do you see the same commercial over and over again?
Oh, God, all the time.
All the time. All the time. Why is that? There's only a certain amount of companies in San Diego that can afford to advertise on Padres radio, on Padres TV, on all of this stuff. And there's only a certain amount of companies that are able to do it for maybe both or in town. I mean, you could talk about whatever you want to talk about in terms of businesses in town. In order to make your money back, you have to charge for advertising. It's the same thing with the ticket prices with San Diego State. People aren't willing to pay that kind of money for San Diego State football. Just like advertisers aren't willing to spend the amount of money that they have to spend to be on said TV deals. But they have to also get advertising in the building. They got to get advertising for there. I mean, all these sponsorships come from somewhere. And most of the time, it involves major companies that have the resources to just, write massive checks for advertising. We don't have those companies. You need those companies in town to pay for the TV companies to pay for the TV contracts. That's what it is. That does not exist in San Diego. It hasn't existed. What are you going to say?
It's not even, there was one comment in here and lost it. It scrolled up. It's not even that football has more time to fit in for commercials. It's a bigger product. More eyeballs are on it. So more advertisers are begging to get on it. It's also a national product. Baseball, with the way it has become and the way it's been marketed, is so regional that it's not worth it to a lot of advertisers.
Frank, at what point am I taking anything to the extreme? This is what it is. This is the reality of the situation. It's not like the Padres have done everything they can to pump into the major league roster. That's what people want.
It's not.
Do you care if the minor leagues are good? I don't really care. I care if the major league team's good.
Mike, it's not a matter of not wanting to have an opposing view. It's not about not wanting to hear an opposing view. We're not giving you a view here. We're telling you how this works as far as television rights contracts. And we're looking at the way teams have been built over the last couple of years, the last decades, as to how your success is. I brought up the 2003 Marlins. I brought up the 97 Marlins as an outlier to why being a prospect hub can work. But if you look at the teams that are prospect hubs, they don't work. You need to have a combination of both. You're right. You absolutely do need to have homegrown stars to fill out your roster. That being said, you can't just hold on to every single prospect thinking that they are going to be that homegrown star, because most of them aren't going to be that.
Correct. Again, he keeps bringing up the Houston Astros. The Astros have been successful because, I don't know, they spent, you know how much money they spent on their roster last year? $224 million. You know how much money they're spending on their roster next year? $231 million. They haven't even made a move yet. They have the resources to have these gigantic contracts and, okay, develop players. But you know what they did? They let Alex Bregman walk. They let Carlos Correa walk. They ended up trading back for him. The Astros have had a lot of success for a lot of different reasons, but they have the resources to do it. They are a major market organization. They're a massive organization.
What attitude are you talking about, Mike, that's going to keep San Diego as wannabes?
He's just making crap up. I mean, it's just he's arguing with himself at this point. We got to take a break. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. As we go to the final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I don't understand it either, Frank. I don't get it. It's funny. I just don't get it. This hour, 97 to the Fan is brought to you by IHOP. Introducing the IHOP Value Menu, where all your breakfast faves are just $6 each every day. Where else can you get a big, filling, sit-down breakfast for only $6? Go to your Happy Plates with the $6 IHOP Value Menu, available every day at IHOP, $7 in some locations. Why is Pittsburgh ranked? We'll talk about it tomorrow. Didn't even get to the rankings today. Didn't get to the NFL trade deadline. Most of that stuff is kind of evergreen. We didn't even talk about Aztec basketball that much.
We had such a fun show planned out today. We were going to congratulate Brian Dutcher on his 199th career win as a head coach. We were going to make fun of Dabo Sweeney before saying, you know what, dude, you kind of have a point. We were going to talk. We were actually going to congratulate Kennesaw State on making a bowl game.
We were.
Yes.
I don't remember that being part of the deal.
No, that's in the college football vibe check.
The vibe check that we haven't gotten to for 4 days.
Yeah, the vibe check that we now can't do because we're coming up to making our picks with Skylar again tomorrow. Which, by the way, Skylar's probably pretty happy we haven't found time to talk about that.
Yeah.
Skylar had a bad old week 10.
I just want to point out that both of you thought I was crazy for picking Utah over Cincinnati.
I didn't think you were crazy. I
go back and listen to the tape. Go back and listen to the tape.
I thought Cincinnati would cover.
Do not. Absolutely do not.
I thought Cincinnati would cover, and they did not.
Absolutely do. The far chart. Absolutely do not test me on Big 12 football.
Skylar went 1-9 this week.
She's distracted, dude. She's just,
Yeah.
It's crunch time.
She made better picks when she was in Disney.
Yeah, she was. She has. She feels the heat coming.
Braden and I both went 5-5. Skylar went 1-9.
Back in first place.
Yeah, Braden's back up in first place by now 3 games over Skylar, 4 over me, who's slowly making the climb back into this fight.
They're not like our boy Hayden Rogers on Twitter today is great. He tweeted at us, and he goes, B Serp out here straight up educating the audience today. Loving it. YouTube chat needs to get him more pissed off more often.
Let's not do that.
Do it. Do it.
No, let's not.
I'll bring it every day.
Let's not, because again, we were going to break down the fact that...
You know what? I don't know why you're bitching about it. Your day just got a lot easier for tomorrow.
We were going to break down how the Indianapolis Colts gave the New York Jets more picks than Sauce Gardner has. I mean, we had a fun show planned today.
Mike is saying we should be Houston. Houston is a big market. Houston is a big market. Has anybody been to Houston? Been to Houston, Frank? First of all, it sucks, but Houston is a big market. Is one of the biggest markets in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's the 6th largest market in the United States. 6th largest market in the United States. The market serves over 6.1 million people. The San Diego market, if you just count the county, that's double the San Diego market. They have the ability to do a lot of these things. Now, if you compare the Padres to the other teams that are like the Padres, guess what? The Padres are doing pretty well compared to all those other teams. Houston's got a TV contract. They got a massive TV contract that helps fund a lot of the things that they need. But again, I'm not talking about extremes. What's not getting across is the fact that a perfect world, right, Frank?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about what a perfect world is for Major League Baseball teams. A perfect world is I can draft and develop players. They facilitate the roster, and I can also go out and get a big free agent when I need it. And I have a combo of big free agent contracts and young players that are under contract for not a lot of money that I don't care if they develop and then disappear after. That is a perfect market, right? That's a perfect idea. In order for right? We're all in agreement with that, right?
Yes.
All in agreement with that. In order to do that at an elite level, at a level to win a World Series, you have to be able to have the resources to do those things. At what the Padres have resource-wise, they're going to be mediocre at both. So they're not going to get the Manny Machados of the world. they're going to get other players, almost like, I don't know, the Eric Hosmers of the world, the Will Myers of the world. Go back and look at the 2015 Padres through. They were doing that. You saw the resources for that. They were signing guys like Seth Smith. And then they were developing guys like Jed Jerko. It was mediocre at both. So what the Padres decided to do is we're going to invest all this money into the Major League roster, which takes a little bit from the development. But in that case, you're at least elite at one thing or really, really good at one thing. And that is a way to win games. But the problem is there's risk involved. You can either go the way of being conservative and not take any risk and be mediocre at everything, or you can put all your eggs or a lot of your eggs in one basket and just go for it. And you know what? That's what the Padres have been doing. That was the point of my entire argument. The teams that could do both things at an elite level of developing talent and spending money on free agency, those teams have the resources to do both. The Padres are not in that bucket. They have to pick. And what they did was they picked the Major League roster. And you know what? For me, Frank, I think that's a lot more fun to talk about.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more fun to watch.
And they're still drafting very, very well. And I understand it. And I understand it's frustrating that these draft picks that we get so hyped up about and that we always hear about, you never see them play in a Padre uniform. I get it. That's frustrating. But would you rather win the AAA championship or would you rather win the Major League Baseball championship?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, couple bits of breaking news here. If you are in the El Paso area and you love the El Paso Chihuahuas,
as much as Frank does,
you now have a chance to be their mascot for the year. Go on to the El Paso Chihuahuas social media pages. They will show you where you can apply to be the El Paso Chihuahuas mascot. And also just announced, Jimmy Johnson, 7-time NASCAR champion, will officially be running his home race next year here in San Diego.
That's great. I love that news. All right. Well, hopefully I helped you guys out, learn a little bit about the Padres and the business side of sports today. Frank, did you learn something today?
I learn nothing every day.
I'm glad you pay attention. That's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We'll be back on Thursday. Talk some more college football. Braden Surprenant Show.